Chapter 529. How many times have I faced the cold shoulder and ridicule? I have never given up on my dream. A moment of absent-mindedness, a feeling of loss. Unknowingly, the love in my heart, who understands me. Not only was Rico, who was quietly watching the battle, surprised by the seemingly evenly matched battle. Even Long Shiro, who was in the middle of the battle, was also very surprised by Zhue Feng's strength. His strength was still increasing. It was increasing crazily, as if there was no limit to it in a short period of time. Long Shiro had to secretly calculate the time she had left while trying her best to attack. Ha 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 ha! Come and kill me! Lord Long! Come and kill me! Zhue Feng shouted crazily. Didn't you say that you won't show any mercy? Why are your hands and legs so weak? Is it because of menopause that your strength has regressed? You know nothing, you only know how to be arrogant. Kelowna Shinryu snorted. Zhue Feng, your strength is increasing too fast. Can you bear it? Look at yourself now. You're digging your own grave. Zhue Feng didn't listen, and crazily attacked Long Shiro. But his body also began to expand to a certain extent. His body began to ooze out a large amount of blood, but the demonic runes on his body became brighter and brighter. I can't go all out here. If you have the ability, follow me to the river and fight. Long Shiro snorted coldly. Zhue Feng laughed. But I can go all out. Lord Long, are you afraid of the humans below? TSK. Interesting. Suddenly, Zhue Feng waved his hands, and two huge bloody claws suddenly waved downward. It's too noisy down there. What the hell? Disappear for me. Disappear. Disappear. Long Shiro gritted her teeth and had no choice but to give up on attacking Zhue Feng. She dove down and caught the blood-red claw before it fell. That was close. Kelowna's Shinryu couldn't help but glance at the tens of thousands of people below. There seemed to be something below that made her want to keep looking. Was someone singing? But this thought only flashed through her mind. She was not in the mood to listen to these human singers at this moment. Zhue Feng. Her voice became colder. The reason why humans and demons have been living in peace for hundreds of years is because there was an agreement between the two sides. And you are breaking this agreement. Cut the crap. I've already said it. If you have the ability, come and kill me. If you don't have the ability, you don't have to care about me. Zhue Feng snorted. Kelowna's Shinryu. If I really die by your hands, it won't be a loss. Long Shiro took a deep breath and suddenly shouted. Chichi Kamaya. Just at the moment when she shouted, a cold light broke through the night sky and shot to the front of Long Shiro. The crutch. A walking stick. What Long Shiro wanted was the sword hidden within it. Pulling out the sword, Long Shiro's killing intent suddenly increased by several levels. Kelowna's Shinryu's anger caused Zhue Feng to feel an extremely strong pressure. His body couldn't help but tremble slightly under this killing intent, but his eyes became even crazier. Those blood-red runes also became even brighter. I'm sorry, Zhue Feng. Long Shiro waved her sword and a trace of reluctance flashed through her eyes, but that reluctance quickly disappeared and the golden light on her body became still, completely disappeared. However, what replaced it was a huge shadow that appeared and disappeared in the night sky, the shadow of a dragon. Long Shiro took a light step forward and crossed the distance between the two of them. The cold light of the walking sword appeared in front of Zhue Feng, directly stabbing towards his chest. Chi! However, Zhue Feng suddenly raised both his hands and grabbed onto the blade of the sword. His palms were instantly cut open and blood flowed out, but in the end, he was still able to hold onto the sword. Your strength has actually increased again. Long Shiro exerted all her strength to push the sword, but she was unable to move it. Although this shadow used for battle could use some of the main body's strength. But after all, it was only created by Chichi Kamaya using a pearl. It couldn't be compared to the complete Shinryu's body. Long Shiro, couldn't continuously draw out an endless amount of power from the earth. She also couldn't obtain the protection of the earth. The so-called Shinryu's strength was greatly reduced. Kelowna Shinryu. Kelowna Shinryu, is this all you have? Xuefeng's craziness became even more intense. Why? Is this all you have? You should be stronger than me. You should be stronger than me. Long Shiruo fiercely gritted her teeth and pushed the walking sword with all her strength. Finally, it moved. Little by little, it approached Xuefeng's chest. But her body was slowly becoming dim, fainter and fainter. Damn it! I didn't think that Xuefeng's strength would be at this level. Did I use up too much from the start? Hold on a little longer. At least. Long Shiru roared angrily. That was Shinryu's unwillingness. Her body had completely turned into a bubble in an instant. Only the walking sword remained in Xuefeng's hands. The Shinryu who had suddenly disappeared, the sword which had suddenly lost all its strength, was now empty. Xuefeng looked at the scene in front of him in astonishment. Looking at the sword which was originally less than an inch away from his chest, he lowered his head. Why, it was so close. Why? Xuefeng looked at the moon and suddenly roared. Why? Why didn't you let me die? Since you came to stop me. Then kill me too. You left just like that. What is this? What is this? He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The runes on his body became brighter, as if something was about to break out from his body. Suddenly, Xuefeng raised the walking sword and placed it on his neck. With a hoarse voice, he said, "Since you can't kill me." The blade suddenly cut open his neck, but it trembled and stopped. That was his body's instinct to stop him from doing so. Ridiculous, I actually don't have this courage. I can't hold on anymore, Xuefeng sighed. His eyes finally looked at the world in front of him. He had such an idea. Standing at a high place, if he could fly, he could have a bird's eye view of this world. But now he could fly and had a bird's eye view of this world. But this was his last look. It seemed that he had no regrets? He suddenly calmed down. He held the sword in his hand and placed it on his neck again. But at this moment, he couldn't help but look at a place that made him temporarily stop his suicidal action. He saw cheese, and this is... At this moment, Long suddenly collapsed on the ground. The bead in her hand also randomly rolled on the ground. Chichi-kamaya? What kind of broken technique is this? You said 5 minutes. Why did it take less than 3 minutes? Chichi-kamaya said helplessly, Master, I didn't expect it to consume so much. Under normal circumstances, I estimated it to take 5 minutes. Estimated? After all, it's the first time I made it with Shinryu's blood. I can only estimate. Longer stared at him. But she also knew that it was useless. She looked up at the sky and frowned. Xuefeng, what is he going to do now? Xuefeng suddenly fell. That place seemed to be the circular roof of the stadium. Longer immediately climbed on Chichi-kamaya's back. Chichi-kamaya, let's go and have a look. He just wanted to kill someone. I don't know why he went crazy again. He's too crazy. I could feel it when I was fighting. There's a craziness that is about to swallow him. Mo Xiaofei's body suddenly sank and almost fell from the sky. But he finally stabilized his body. He had checked the 9th place, and didn't find anything similar to a bomb hidden in the fireworks. There was still half to go. Mo Xiaofei kept cheering himself up, and subconsciously glanced at the stage, as if there was a force encouraging him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to persist. I'm also afraid of falling one day. Indeed. Mo Xiaofei cheered himself up and moved rapidly toward the 10th place. But if I fall, I'll get up. Suddenly, a shadow in the sky, a huge, looming dragon's shadow hiding in the darkness. Mo Xiaofei was shocked and couldn't calm down for a long time. What the hell is that? His head was so heavy, but he could open his eyes. Cheese heard the singing. The singing was so warm and firm, so he struggled to open his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, Cheese's mind and body became empty, and he couldn't look away. He had to leave the figure in front of him. His throat was so uncomfortable, as if it was burning. Tears poured out like a flood. He instinctively hugged the figure in front of him and shouted the name in his heart, "Dad! Dad!" The figure in front of him gently touched Cheese's head. It didn't speak but just touched Cheese's head. "Dad! Dad! Am I dreaming? Dad! I miss you so much. I really miss you so much." It still didn't speak. It still maintained the appearance that made Cheese call his father, but only in front of it. It looked at the creature that hugged it. It couldn't hide the huge desire in its eyes, even though there was a touch of pain under the desire, but it couldn't do anything. Its entire back suddenly opened up, from the nape of its neck all the way to its tailbone. It opened up. It had razor-sharp teeth and a blood-red interior. What it opened was a huge bloody mouth that looked like a lantern grass. "Dad! I miss you so much. We all miss you so much. Where did you go, Dad?" Cheese raised his head and looked at the familiar face in front of him. "Yes, and the feeling that only you had." It smiled slightly. It wanted to eat the creature in front of it, but it didn't want him to feel any pain. So it said softly, "Dad, I went to a very far place and just came back." "Where? So long?" "Very far, but it doesn't matter. I've come back." It still said softly, "I came back to take you to that place. Do you want to go with me?" Cheese nodded subconsciously. "I'll go. Dad, I'll go wherever you go, but Mom, brother and sister. Don't worry, I'll take them with me." It put its hands on Cheese's shoulders, and its voice became softer. "Now, close your eyes and we'll go to that place soon." Cheese suddenly shook his head hard. "I don't want to. I'm afraid it's just a dream. I'm afraid you'll disappear once I close my eyes. I don't want to. I don't want to, Dad." Cheese is not strong at all. Cheese is not strong at all. "I promise you, I won't disappear." It smiled. "Touch me. I really exist. I won't disappear. So, close your eyes. Soon, all the pain will disappear. Soon, you and your mother will be reunited. We will be together and become an unbreakable whole. Forever and ever." Really?" Cheese nodded hesitantly, but still closed his eyes. He waited for a while. "Dad, is it done? Can I open my eyes?" Cheese tried to ask. "It's almost done. It's almost done. It's almost done," it said softly, but the terrifying mouth on its back had already opened to its limit. A huge thing that looked like a tongue or a straw slowly extended out of the mouth. "Oh, Dad," Cheese suddenly said, "after we pick up Mom, can I wait for a while? I have something to figure out." "Sure, what's the matter?" Cheese took a deep breath. I have a friend, and I have something to ask him." The tongue had already arrived above Cheese's head. It suddenly opened and turned into a huge straw big enough to swallow him. It still said in a kind voice, "Sure, no matter what you want to do, Dad will let you do it." "Yes." Cheese revealed a slight smile. But at this moment, he felt his father's hand on his shoulder suddenly loosen. Cheese opened his eyes subconsciously. The first thing he saw was an extremely painful expression on his father's face. A sharp sword pierced through his father's chest, and almost pierced his forehead. "Dad!" Cheese instinctively shouted this name. A kind of shock made him unable to think. The father in front of him, his father. Shu Yu's body suddenly exploded at this moment. Completely exploded. It exploded into countless pieces of flesh and blood, spraying on his face, body, under his feet and around him. In front of him were all those fine, unrecoverable, minced flesh and blood. Only that sharp sword fell to the ground, making a clank. This sound made Cheese look forward subconsciously. Not far. How far? About 5 meters? 6 meters? It was still the same figure 7 meters away. It was Yuefeng with red eyes and boundless madness. "Ah, I'm sorry, I seem to have ruined your beautiful dream. Zhuefeng sneered and looked at Cheese. But, why do I feel happy when I see you like this? It's probably because you've always talked about your family, but now, you finally know what it's like to have no family, right? Again. Zhuefeng. Cheese lowered his head with red eyes. His whole body demonized to the extreme, and he suddenly grabbed the walking sword on the ground. Zhuefeng? I'll kill you! The distance of a few meters was very close, but very far. How long would it take to cross it? Cheese didn't know, he didn't even think about it, when the sword in his hand pierced into Zhuefeng's body. The moment it pierced into his heart, he didn't expect it to be so easy. He didn't think about it, he just pushed the sharp sword that pierced into Zhuefeng's heart, pushing Zhuefeng's body. He roared with blood and tears, pushing. When Zhuefeng spurted out a mouthful of blood, which splashed on Cheese's head, Cheese stopped. He leaned on Zhuefeng's chest. Why do you have to do this? Zhuefeng lowered his head and chuckled. No reason. I just want to see you in pain, and let you know how hypocritical you are. In the end, you still kill people, and let you know how it feels to kill people. Cheese, in this world, there's no perfect thing. Isn't it good you're always a nice guy, Zhuefeng? At this moment, Zhuefeng suddenly punched Cheese's chest, making him spit out a mouthful of blood and fall to the ground, unable to stand up. Zhuefeng, cough. Cheese struggled to get up. Why did you kill my dad? You didn't intend to kill my mom. I saw the blood bags, ah. At this time, Wind-Chasing Wolf suddenly cried out in pain. He pulled out the sword from his heart and threw it on the ground. Oh, really? You found out? But, that thing is actually... I was just playing with you. Zhuefeng turned around, stumbling step by step, carrying Cheese on his back, saying weakly, think about it, when you and I competed and suffered the pain of choosing the death of your loved ones, you suddenly found they didn't die? Aren't you happy? Suddenly, you went from hell to heaven? And then? I will kill them one by one in front of you again. It's beautiful. Are you going back to hell again? Ah, what a pity. Such a good plan was ruined by others. What a pity. You're really crazy. Yes, I'm crazy. Zhuefeng had walked to the edge of the roof, suddenly opening his hands as if he was flying. But I need to explain to you what I did? The only pity is that I didn't kill your family. I only killed your so-called dad. What a failure, what a failure. He looked at the tens of thousands of people below who was singing. So determined, forgive me for this life, unruly, indulgent, and free love, I'm also afraid of falling down one day, betraying my ideals. Anyone can do it, it's so annoying, this song. His pupils began to dilate, he began to trace back his life. This was probably the so-called carousel lantern before death? Please, save this child, no matter what, let him live. So this is a thief, this bastard who has no parents. He stole it, not me. You can live here, it's easier for you to survive here. What's your name? I'm Cheese. Are you okay? Are you in pain? Do you want me to send you to the hospital? Do you know Lord Long? Her hospital is nearby. Xiao Jiang. I'm Nini. Nice to meet you. I didn't kill him. This ringing bell can make anyone who hears it listen to you. I want it, even if I have to use my soul. It's yours now, dear customer. Haha, bell. TSK, there's such an interesting thing in this world. But, I want to buy one more thing. What else do you want to buy? With this card, a mark can be used to make a discounted transaction, right? When you gave it to me, there were two more. I used one now. This bell should also be discounted, right? In other words, even if I use my soul as the transaction fee, I can't take it all away, right? Indeed, customer, you're really smart. Then, what do you want to buy for the last discounted transaction? I want to know the truth of that year. You said that you can sell anything. Since you don't want to tell me, then I'll buy it. But customer, you don't have anything to sell, right? Since you said that I'm not destined to die, and can at least live to 60 years old, you saved me this time. It's definitely not for no reason. I'm sure. That year, someone must have done all this for me, so I must know the truth. Customer, isn't it better not to know? Isn't it better to enjoy your 60 years of life quietly? I don't want to be like this. I'm me. I'm not someone who's controlled by others. I can protect myself. This so-called, not destined to die. I don't want it. I only want the truth. Since someone gave me this protection talisman, then it's mine. Why can't I use this protection talisman to buy what I want? And like this. I understand. I'll tell you the truth of that year. Your father is the crepe myrtle's first star, Greedy Wolf star. You have the blood of Greedy Wolf in your body. It's your father who gave you this protection talisman. As for why he gave you this protection talisman, it's related to another kind of blood in your body, from your mother's blood. We made it the blood of demon wolf Fenrir. Of course, your mother is only the descendant of one of Fenrir's sons, Xianji, so the blood is a little sparse. Greedy wolf, Fenrir? Xianji? My parents, this is where I came from. But why my parents are so strong, why? It seems to be because of the union between your parents. Greedy wolf's blood and Fenrir's blood can't merge. At the moment of your birth, and, do you really want to know? Say it. You were born by breaking open your mother's stomach, absorbing all her vitality, letting her die, and you were born. I don't believe it. You lied to me. So I said, knowing the truth is not good for you. Go on. What about my father? Why did he buy this protection talisman for me? As I said before, the two kinds of power in your body are incompatible. But when you were born, you absorbed all your mother's power, which made Fenrir's blood power suppress Greedy Wolf's power. But Greedy Wolf's power is also a very precious power, it was only hiding. Later on, your father thought of a way to help you increase this power to a level where the two could compete. But it seems that your father's power was not enough, or it could be said that these two kinds of power had some changes in your body that were beyond his understanding. At that time, your father came to this shop, wanting to know what changes would happen to your body. And, since it's the customer's request, this shop naturally won't refuse. After the shop analyzed it, we knew the reason. That is, these two kinds of power will continue to merge and eventually become a terrifying power that has no sense of reason, only killing. In your body, it will slowly grow until one day it will devour all of you, turning you into a monster. You won't know who you are in the end. Everything in this world, in your eyes, is destroyed. You won't feel happiness, pain, or sadness. You will only live for killing, always, always. It's a pity that your father's price is not enough, because the power in your body is already above his in essence. Therefore, he can only use himself in exchange for your protection talisman to let you live peacefully for 60 years. The appearance of a coyote is just a disguise he gave you. But, so many years have passed, the power in your body is starting to awaken. You lied to me. You said I will become emotionless and become a killing machine. Why can I still think normally now? Customer, have you forgotten the protection talisman on your body? Within 60 years, even if your power awakens, you won't lose your sense of reason. Our shop will never sell fake or shoddy goods. It's because of you. Then I used this protection talisman just now, isn't it because of you? So cunning. And, isn't it because of your persistence? Let's not talk about this matter. It's also because the shop owner promised your father at that time. Now I will. Why is he always so cruel to me? What did I do wrong? Those humans are too annoying. Let's teach them a lesson. Well said. Call me leader. Nini. Call me leader? Ha 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 ha. That's right. That's right. That's right. Ha 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 ha. That's right. That's right. Ha ha ha. Ha. Nini. Do you know? I was originally a jinx. Xiao Jiang was right. I shouldn't exist. But what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I'll kill you. In the end, I'll kill you. Kill you. Kill Cheese. Kill everyone. Do you know? I killed my mother. I killed her with my own hands. Do you know? Why do you have to do this to me? I shouldn't exist, Zhuifeng. Stop it. We already know that you're the one who saved Xiaojiang. I'm sorry. Don't play this game with me. Even the Shinryu of Kelowna can't do anything. You can't do anything. You can't just stand by and watch them continue like this. Even if you don't want to, as the Shinryu's mission, you have no choice. You have no choice but to lower your head to me. Am I right? You can't be apologizing sincerely. You can say whatever you want. I don't want you to release your control over those monsters. But what I want more is for you to calm down. Your inner demons came suddenly, but it's not impossible to get rid of them. I'm fine now. Don't worry about me. Really, don't worry about me. Just hate me. It's best if you kill me. I don't have the courage to kill myself. I don't. I'm really fine. Don't worry about me. Ah, this wind, it's so comfortable. His opened hands were supported by the night wind, and his body seemed to become more relaxed. Wind-chasing Wolf's body slowly leaned down. Nini called me leader very loudly. Even though she didn't mean it, but it's good to be able to hear it so loudly. Cheese this fellow. Does he really think that I can't win against him? I'm Zhuifeng. I don't need you to let me. I'm very happy playing football. They all hate me. Kill me. That's enough. That's enough. There's no need to know the reason, and there's no need to be sad. Hate me, kill me, that's enough. I'm Zhuifeng, uncle. I'm Zhuifeng, uncle. My way of dying is the way a big boss should die. The big demon that was defeated by a brave warrior. Ha 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 ha. Forgive me for being unruly and indulgent in my life. I'm also afraid that one day I'll fall. This song is finally finished. There's so much applause. So much joy. But it doesn't sound bad. Human or something. But, those abominable humans outside have already begun to attack and occupy our territory. I can't bear it anymore. Tonight, I must teach those reckless humans a lesson, and let them know the power of Uncle Zhuifeng. You tell me, roar or not? Right, there's still the last program. Shock. Humans. Uncle Zhuifeng's last lesson to you. Beep. At the moment of falling, Windchaser took out a small remote control from his body and pressed the button on it. Roar! At the moment of pressing the button, Zhuifeng used his last strength to clench his fist and raise it. Good! I'm Uncle Zhuifeng. Roar! Bang! Loud sound. An enormous flame suddenly exploded at this time, scuttling towards the night sky, extremely bright. It was a huge firework that spread out like roses. It was extremely gorgeous. When the audience who were touched by the singer were startled by the sound, they subconsciously looked at the gorgeous firework in the sky and exclaimed. In the night sky, a huge piece of cloth slowly floated down, with a few words written on it. I'm Zhuifeng. Who's Zhuifeng? I don't know. Is this the effect of the program? Wait, what's that? Wow! Run! But at this moment, some small black things fell down like rain and sprinkled on the audience. It wasn't the dust of the firework that was blown by the wind. It was cockroaches. Countless cockroaches. Flies' corpses, insects' corpses, countless. They fell on the audience's seats, sprinkled on their heads and bodies, everywhere. It made people feel disgusted. Women screamed. Not only that, a large number of skyscraper monkeys shot out from the circular roof of the stadium and under the audience's seats. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. It caused an unprecedented chaos. Ha 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 ha. With a mischievous laughter, Zhuifeng's body sank down. Chapter 530. A figure quickly landed in front of Cheese. Cheese was still kneeling on the ground, looking at the place where Xuefeng jumped. He saw the gorgeous fireworks and the big banner slowly falling down from the sky. In the end, did he still use such a prank as the last decoration of his life? Why, damn, I'm still late. A childish but annoyed voice sounded. Cheese realized that someone had come to his side. Master? Master Turtle? Cheese shouted this name absent-mindedly. But he couldn't call out the name of the little girl who climbed down from Chichikamaya's back. He just felt that he had seen her somewhere before. But Cheese didn't think about who this little girl was. He just looked at Chichikamaya, the senior of the monster clan, saying painfully, Master Turtle. Xuefeng, he killed my father. Then I killed him. I killed him. Chichikamaya sighed. Cheese, maybe it's hard for you to accept, but I saw the scene just now from afar. Xuefeng didn't kill your father, he even saved you. Nonsense. Cheese glared. I saw it. My father exploded in front of me. Is it worth it? I saw the painful expression on my father's face clearly. Nothing can compare to the truth. This is the truth. Chichikamaya shook his head, pointing slowly. This is the reality you have to face. Although it's painful, you have to face it. The truth. Cheese looked at the direction where Chichikamaya pointed at. That was the place where his father, Shuyu, exploded, the place full of blood and flesh. He didn't dare to look at such a tragic scene again. But he looked at those pieces of flesh in horror. Now they started to crawl on the ground and gathered at the same place, gradually increasing in size. What happened to my father? Longer suddenly said, This is not Shuyu, but at the same time, you know it, its real body is Iron Whistle. That pet of yours. Maybe it's hard for you to accept, but Chichikamaya and I saw it with our own eyes, it wanted to eat you. Chichikamaya pushed out his hands, and a huge cold air spurted out, freezing the mass of flesh and the pieces of flesh that hadn't crawled over yet. This time, the old turtle didn't dare to open the ice casually to find the protocell, but planned to find a safe place and deal with it slowly. He didn't want to be shot again. Nonsense. I don't believe it. Nonsense. Cheese crazily held his head, roaring at Long-er and Chichikamaya. Nonsense? My father came back. He came back. He came back. Nonsense. You're lying to me, you're lying to me. Calm down. Before Iron Whistle attacked you, it had already killed many humans and monsters. Chichikamaya said in a low voice. The reason it turned into Shuyu's appearance was because it had eaten your father, Shuyu. Nonsense. I don't believe it. Cheese shook his head in despair and stepped back step by step. Nonsense, you're all lying to me. Xuefeng. I'm going to ask him. He killed my father. He killed my father. I'm going to ask him. Cheese crazily ran to the place where Xuefeng jumped, and also jumped down. This kid. Chichikamaya shook his head and sighed, and was about to follow him. Chichikamaya, let him go. Unexpectedly, Long-er suddenly shook her head. It's better for him. Long-er looked at the ice with a complicated expression, saying in a low voice, Xuefeng saw the change of Iron Whistle and saved Cheese from it. Why did he say those words to irritate Cheese and let Cheese kill him? And how could Cheese succeed so easily? Chichikamaya frowned, sighing deeply. I suddenly understand Xuefeng's idea. Long-er subconsciously looked up at Chichikamaya, her former teacher. Chichikamaya said slowly, compared to letting Cheese know the truth, it's better to keep him in the dark, and let him have a sweet dream. Even if this sweet dream is broken, at least he won't know that his father wanted to eat him. It's too cruel for him. And Cheese can have an enemy, a place to vent his anger, and a reason to not let himself go crazy. You mean Xuefeng? Long-er subconsciously looked ahead. We don't know what happened to Xuefeng. Gui Qianni shook his head. He controlled a lot of monsters and made such a mess. It's understandable and can't be refuted. But maybe he has some gentleness that we don't know. Long-er recalled the scene when she fought with Xuefeng, and what he said. Kelowna's Shinryu? If you have the ability, come and kill me. It's not a loss for me to die in your hands. Why can't you kill me? Why? Why? She suddenly woke up and said with a trembling voice, He's courting death. Dragoni couldn't care less about that. She subconsciously opened her legs and rushed to the edge of the cliff. Then, without thinking, she jumped down. Lord Long! You'll get hurt like this? Chichikamaya didn't care about anything else. He quickly chased after her. Anyway, if he didn't take the initiative to break the ice, it wouldn't melt for at least 8 to 10 days. It seemed that he didn't feel the pain of falling from a high place. Instead, he landed very gently on the ground on the plastic track at the edge of the stadium. But it didn't matter. The injury on his heart was real. Xuefeng felt that his life was fading away little by little. In that case, it didn't matter if he landed painfully or not. Hey! Are you okay? Hey! Are you okay? Who is talking? His vision was blurred, but Xuefeng instinctively opened his eyes a little, and saw a huge gas mask in front of him. How did you get such a serious injury? Your heart? Hang in there. I'll send you to the hospital right away. You must hang in there. Don't give up. Don't give up at any time. Hang in there. He felt that his body was lifted up, and felt that his body became very light, and he felt the wind blowing on his face. Fly. Xuefeng felt that he was flying. A fireman who can fly, does he really exist? So Xiao Jiang didn't lie to me. Xuefeng suddenly wanted to laugh. He didn't know why, but he always felt that it was ridiculous. So, he laughed, and struggled from the embrace of the fireman who could fly, pushing him away and falling to the ground again. What are you doing? Do you want to die? Seeing Xuefeng falling from a high altitude again, the fireman, Mo Xiaofei, didn't care so much. He used his psychokinesis to fix Xuefeng's body, just like what he did just now. He didn't know what happened to this kid who looked a few years younger than him. Why did he get such a serious injury and fall from such a high place? But he really didn't care so much. He just wanted to save this kid. The moment he saw him falling, he wanted to save this kid. Xuefeng landed steadily again. Mo Xiaofei hurried down and wanted to hold him up again. Kid! Don't be silly. Life is precious. Don't worry about me. Xuefeng waved his hand and slapped his hand away weakly. You and I are not related, don't help me. No matter if we're not related or have grudges or anything else. But I can't watch a life leave in front of me. Mo Xiaofei shook his head. If you're a good person, you shouldn't die like this. If you're a heinous villain, at least, after you get a fair trial and apologize to those who have been hurt by you, you're qualified to end your life. Leaving like this is the most cowardly behavior. I'm actually taught a lesson by a human. Ha 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 ha. Xuefeng coughed twice painfully, shaking his head. I know my own situation very well. You really don't need to save me. If you're really kind, go and help the audience here. They should be in a bad situation. Oh yeah, I'm the one who made them like this. Do you still want to save me? Are you still willing to save a villain like me? It's you. Mo Xiaofei gave a start, with surprise and a little anger. But he quickly suppressed this anger, taking a deep breath. I still choose to save you first. Although I don't know why you did such a thing. But to be honest, at first I thought it was a bomb, so I was very anxious. But in the end, it's just a big prank. I don't know what you're thinking, but at least I know you didn't really want to hurt anyone. These pranks may make people angry and embarrassed, but it won't kill them. Humans are very strong. When they face difficulties, they will definitely be able to overcome it. Besides, more policemen and firemen will be here soon. So, I still want to save you first. You're so annoying. Xuefeng spat out a mouthful of blood, but he pushed Mo Xiaofei with his backhand, and a burst of qi suddenly overturned Mo Xiaofei. But how could there be such a human? If I met him earlier, Xuefeng suddenly half-knelt on the ground. He was already close to death, but now he used his demon power again, and was even closer. and Emo Xiaofei's body hit the wall at this time. He even heard the cracking sound of bones. His left shoulder was probably fractured. I've told you. Don't worry about me. Blood kept flowing out of Zhuifeng's mouth, and the wound on his heart was bleeding crazily, like a figure bathed in a pool of blood. What do you know? I should die. I killed my mother when I was born. My father was doomed eternally because of me. But I've been blaming them for abandoning me from the beginning. I hate the whole world. But you know what? If I don't die, I'll only hurt more people. I'll become a mindless monster who only knows how to kill. No one can help me. Why would I cough 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 cough? Why cough cough? Still keep. Zhuifeng struggled to stand up, but fell to the ground again. He was in great pain, with tears of blood. I can't control myself. I'll kill my most precious friends. You. Emo Xiaofei also got up from the ground. Looking at this miserable young boy, he suddenly felt sad. But aren't you afraid that your precious friends will be sad? Zhuifeng fell to the ground, his eyes gradually scattered. No, they'll hate me and wish I'm dead. They won't be sad, that's enough, they won't be sad. They'll go back to normal days, and start a new life, and never mention me again. No, pain, that's enough, the rest, leave it to me. Sadness, pain, all for me because I'm their leader. Yes, I'm their leader. Oh, goodbye, my Zhuifeng. Juvenile regiment. He finally stopped moving. He closed his eyes and stopped moving. I can't save him. I can't save him. Emo Xiaofei knelt on the ground absent-mindedly, crying, I can't save him. I can't save him. He lowered his head deeply. Under the gas mask, tears of regret flowed out. For a life that he couldn't save, he was crying. Zhuifeng, don't die. Chapter 531. Not a human, he didn't look like a human? Emo Xiaofei didn't have time to care about these. He only saw this young guy with strange ears and a tail behind him, who looked like a human, rushing to wind-chasing Wolf's side. This was Cheese. Since Emo Xiaofei fixed Zhuifeng for the second time and planned to save him, he had already come here, not far away. He came here with madness and countless questions, with the hope of breaking Chi-Chi Kamaya's lies. But he couldn't hear all the words he wanted to hear. Instead, he heard the words that made him more painful. Those words were like a sharp sword stabbing into his heart, as painful as Shu Yu's body exploding in front of him. All the words of Zhuifeng were the last words. All these. We are easily deceived by everything in front of us. We are easy to hate. We are easy to pick up the butcher's knife. But we can't simply and sincerely explore others' back. We are always immature, always self-righteous. Zhuifeng, you can't die. Cheese hugged Zhuifeng's body with red eyes, shaking him. Zhuifeng, don't die. Don't die. Don't die like this. You still have to tell me. You saved me. You saved me. You still have to tell me this, you still have to. Don't die, you bastard. Idiot. Troublemaker. Don't die. Do you want to die like this? What do you mean you will kill all of us? Cheese hugged Zhuifeng's body, crying painfully. Why didn't you tell me at the beginning? Why did I have to kill you myself? Why? Do you think we won't be in pain like this? You idiot. Stupid. Super idiot. Super idiot. Super, don't die. We still have to play football together. We haven't decided the winner yet. Just now it was just 1 point. Don't die. No matter how hard he shook, Zhuifeng did not move. Not far away, Longer suddenly turned around and hid behind Chi-Chi Kamaya, looking up at the beautiful moon. She couldn't remember. She couldn't remember Kelowna's Shinryu. Someone once told her that if she couldn't hold back her tears, she could raise her head. That way, the tears would return to their original place. I can't remember. Which idiot said that? I'm going to kill him. It's completely useless. Chichikamaya could only sigh silently and gently pat Longer's shoulder. Emo Xiaofei silently watched as Cheese hugged Juefeng's body and sobbed. He gripped the ground tightly and muttered to himself, "Why can't I save him? Since I can't save him, why do I need this superpower? What do I need it for?" Ah! Emo Xiaofei let out a roar. Blood began to ooze out of his orifices under the gas mask. His head swelled like it was going to explode. He didn't care. He waved his hands and aimed at Juefeng's body. "Wake up! Wake up!" The blood that flowed out of Juefeng's body flowed back little by little and began to squeeze into the wound on Juefeng's heart. Emo Xiaofei's face was covered with blood. His face was pale and his heart was beating wildly. But he didn't care. "Jump! Heart! Jump! You can't die! You can't die! Wake up! Wake up!" Cheese looked at this scene in disbelief. Chichikamaya and Longer also looked at this scene in astonishment. "Wake up!" Emo Xiaofei grabbed his head. He was in great pain but still persisted. "Jump up! Heart, don't die! Don't die!" When the last drop of blood on the ground was sent into Juefeng's body, Emo Xiaofei suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. His breath was weak. He struggled to raise his head but looked at the motionless Juefeng. He suddenly punched the ground. "What do I need it for? If it can't save people, what do I need this superpower for? He's already dead. The dead can't come back to life." Chichikamaya sighed. "Little brother, why do you blame yourself? You've done enough. You don't seem to be in a good condition. Little brother, are you okay?" Emo Xiaofei didn't reply. He just collapsed on the ground. He breathed out more than he breathed out. "What do I need it for? What do I need it for, Juefeng?" Everyone was either in pain or melancholy. Cheese shouted out Juefeng's name again in horror. They saw Juefeng's body slowly rise up, breaking away from his hands. Wind-chasing Wolf's body seemed to be lifted up by something, slowly floating, and finally landing on a pair of hands that had already stretched out. Landing on a young man's hands. "It's you!" Emo Xiaofei screamed unconsciously. "It's you again!" Longer glared at him with both shock and anger. "This tragedy is caused by you. The one who held Juefeng was Luoqiu, Boss Luo." Luoqiu ignored Long Shirua's glare, Chichikamaya's gaze, and didn't look at Emo Xiaofei. He just stared at Juefeng quietly, saying softly, "Really, he's gentler than anyone else. But it's hard to say what he did. Juefeng is dead. Do you still want to laugh at him?" Long Shirua trembled. She thought, this guy was still kind. Luoqiu shook his head, glancing at Long Shirua, but didn't intend to answer her. Instead, he looked at Emo Xiaofei. Boss Luo smiled faintly. "You're becoming a real hero, not bad." Emo Xiaofei said weakly, "But I still can't save him." Luoqiu said softly, "Don't worry, he won't die. At least, it's not the time to die yet." "Wait, what do you mean? Make it clear." Long Shirua stepped forward. "Then, allow me to leave for a while." Boss Luo nodded slightly and calmly disappeared. "With Juefeng." "You don't go. Make it clear." Long Shirua stamped her feet instinctively, saying something that almost scared Chichikamaya to death. You bad guy." "Lord Long, was this the attitude of a little girl? Did I see a fake Kelowna Shinryu?" Luoqiu came to the auditorium that was prepared for him at the beginning, the highest position on the roof of the gymnasium, and let go of Wind-chasing Wolf. But he didn't fall down, but floated quietly in the air. Miss Maid seemed to have known what would happen next, so she waited quietly. But at this moment, Boss Luo suddenly frowned. His palm suddenly rose up and something began to emerge from the center of his palm. It seemed to be emerging at a crazy pace. It was a dazzling light ball, but there were a lot of complicated chains on it, firmly confining it, making it unable to escape from Boss Luo's palm. But an angry and sorrowful voice sounded, "You lied to me! You lied to me! How dare you lie to me!" Luochu kept silent for a while, and suddenly said, "Mr. Tanlang, what do you mean by lying?" That voice roared, "You promised me! You promised me that you would never tell my son his origin. You wouldn't tell him anything about his parents. But you broke your promise. Look, what did you do to my son? I won't let you go." With that, the light ball struggled more frantically, but still couldn't get rid of these chains. "Mr. Tanlang," Luochu said calmly, "you should know that I'm the new boss, right? And the one who promised you not to tell your son was the former boss. It seems that the confidentiality of this matter is not a deal, but a private agreement between you and the former boss." "You?" Luochu said indifferently, "I don't need to abide by the agreement between you and the former boss, because that's outside of my business. And I am me, and the former boss is the former boss." "You despicable guy." Tanlong's soul surged crazily again, shining to the extreme. "Even if I explode, I won't." But the voice stopped. "Tanlang." That was the voice of Miss Maid, slightly cold. "You're not allowed to be rude to the master. Stupid guy, don't you understand? From the beginning, the master didn't make any deal with Xuefeng about this matter. Your son only said that he wanted to make a deal with the amulet you gave him. When did my master ever agree to that?" Tanlong's soul light ball suddenly paused. After a while, Tanlang said in astonishment, then, could it be, Yu Yi said indifferently, "Stupid guy, don't you understand? Your son hasn't died for 60 years, and it's still valid." "Boss!" Tanlong's soul light ball suddenly trembled slightly. Boss Luo looked indifferent, but his finger fell on Xuefeng's wound, slowly touching it. The wound began to heal little by little, but the boss said softly at this time, "Well, it seems that with Emo Xiaofei, the difficulty is reduced a lot." But the wound healed quickly, and Xuefeng's pale face gradually became rosy. Although his heartbeat was weak, it began to beat, from weak to strong and powerful. Seeing that Xuefeng had come back to life, Tanlang suddenly sighed, saying with self-blame, "Boss, I wronged you. I'm sorry." "Really?" Luochu said indifferently, "Mr. Tanlang, it's too early to thank me. Have you forgotten that Xuefeng is also one of our customers? He has already made another deal." Tanlang let out a long sigh. "The reason why I left the black card to him was to give him a chance of survival in the future. The original agreement was that once the power in his body awakened, you would pass the black card to him. But I didn't expect that he used it to buy the most useless thing in the world. This silly kid, how could he get it so easily? Regarding this deal, I don't blame you, and I can't blame you. I know your nature better than anyone else. When a customer comes here, the first thing he should follow is his strongest wish." Mr. Tanlang seemed to be good friends with the previous boss. Boss Luo suddenly said at this time. Tanlang said, "We just drank together, not friends. Compared to that guy whose heart was already dead and only left an empty shell, I like you more. I thought that this kid would be paranoid and walk on the path of the devil. But I didn't expect that he would rather commit suicide than become a demon. Although I have been imprisoned all these years, because of my friendship with the previous one, I have always been able to watch him grow at all times. Over and over again, I watched her suffer in agony. Over and over again, I wanted to break out of this cage and hug her. I wanted to tell her how much my wife and I loved her. But I couldn't do anything. But this." Those chains suddenly began to lengthen, and Tanlong's soul light ball began to move further away from the boss's palm. What surprised Tanlang was that, although he was still imprisoned by the chains, he could now transform into a human form. "There's not much time, Mr. Tanlang. I hope you can use this time well." Boss Luo turned around and looked down at the stadium that was in chaos because of Xuefeng's prank. Tanlang looked at the young boss gratefully. His voice was a bit hoarse. "Thank you. Thank you." Even though there were still chains on his body, he could move. He could come to Xuefeng's side and hug him with his hands. He hugged his only descendant, hugged his and his child. You've done very well, kid. Tanlang looked at Zhu Eifeng with tears in his eyes. Really very good, kid. I thought you would hate this world, but it turns out that the suffering in this world has never pulled you to the side of hatred. Although your birth is unfortunate, fortunately, you know how to cherish the people around you. You're just a bit stubborn. But it's okay, I know you'll grow up and become a real man. Tanlang took a deep breath and hugged Zhu Eifeng tightly for the last time, then he resolutely let go and turned around. That's enough, boss. Let me go back. I know you're using yourself to exchange for my time. It's okay. Boss Luo said indifferently. I've done a lot of business recently. Mr. Tanlang, have you finished talking with Zhu Eifeng? If there's anything else you want to say, I don't mind. Tanlang was stunned and hesitated for a moment before apologizing. Since that's the case, then I'll accept it. Saying this, Greedy Wolf got close to Wind-Chasing Wolf's ear and whispered a few words. Then, he sighed and automatically turned into a soul light ball. The chains that locked him suddenly shrank and returned to Luo Chio's palm, dragging the Greedy Wolf's soul into another mysterious space. And Zhu Eifeng's eyelids slightly trembled, and he slowly opened his eyes. When he opened his eyes, he seemed to see the night sky. But there seemed to be a strange feeling left in his body. It was warm, like being hugged. He subconsciously savored the lingering feeling in his body. After a while, he suddenly woke up and looked around. This boss, this maid here. You're awake. Luochio walked to Zhu Eifeng and looked at him indifferently. I'm not dead? Zhu Eifeng gave a start and then shook his head. No, I should be dead. So, you're here to take my soul, right? I bought the ringing bell for the transaction fee. Wind-Chasing Wolf let out a long sigh and suddenly smiled bitterly. So this is death. That's good. Finally, it's over, this painful thing. Well, you can take my soul. That's good, it's early. Luochio nodded and stretched out his hand to Zhu Eifeng. His palm gently inserted into Zhu Eifeng's chest. Zhu Eifeng only felt a great pain began to spread all over his body, so much so that his face was distorted and he couldn't help but let out an extremely painful scream. Damn it! Why is it so painful? Haven't I died? Why is it so painful? Can you hurry up? It's so painful. It'll be done soon. Luochio suddenly pulled his palm out of Zhu Eifeng's body and then chuckled. It's done. Zhu Eifeng suddenly collapsed on the ground, sweating profusely. He sighed and said subconsciously, Damn it! It's so painful. But he soon found something wrong. Since he was dead and his soul was taken away, why did he still have thoughts and feelings of his body? Windchaser suddenly raised his head and looked at the club's boss. What was caught in the boss's hand was actually a blood-red ball of light with a faint shadow of a ferocious wolf inside. This. Am I not dead? Zhu Eifeng asked in astonishment. Boss Luo blinked. No, didn't I say before that you're not destined to die and can at least live to 60 years old? Zhu Eifeng still said in astonishment. But I used this amulet to buy my identity. Boss Luo chuckled. Well, I did ask for it. But, sorry, customer, I didn't promise you. The contract wasn't signed, right? Zhu Eifeng looked at the blood-red light ball in Boss Luo's hand. Then, what is this taken just now? Of course it's your soul. Boss Luo said indifferently. But, it's one of the souls. It's part of the inherited soul from the demon wolf Xianji. In other words, it's just a fragment of the inherited soul. I don't really understand, Yu Yi chuckled. Mr. Zhu Eifeng, you already know that there are two different but extremely powerful forces in your body. And the source of these two forces is the demon wolf and your father's greedy wolf power. Let's not talk about the greedy wolf power first. The demon wolf's power is a bit special. It relies on inheritance. Every descendant of Xianji will produce this kind of soul fragment to inherit the demon wolf's power. You have it, and so does your mother. This kind of fragment mark will eventually devour the original body and turn into a real demon wolf. But at the same time, You have the protection of the greedy wolf power, which protects your original soul from being devoured. So, strictly speaking, you have two different souls. The soul that will grow into the real greedy wolf's soul, and the fragment mark of the inherited demon wolf's soul. What the master took was the fragment of the demon wolf's soul. Then I am now. Juefeng vaguely understood his condition, but he couldn't sort out his thoughts for a moment. Boss Luo felt that it was better to let Miss Maid analyze such a professional thing. So, Miss Maid continued, since the source of the demon wolf's power is the mark of the demon wolf's soul, then if you lose this mark, it means that Mr. Juefeng can no longer use the demon wolf's power in the future. I won't become a monster? Juefeng opened his eyes wide. He couldn't believe it. Not only did he not die, but he also solved the problem of his body. Theoretically, yes. Yu Yi said indifferently, but the monsters in the East have heaven's retribution, earth's retribution, and mind's retribution. Even without the demon wolf's power, if Mr. Juefeng can't survive these retribution, it seems that he will lose himself in the end. Well, about the monsters in the East, maybe your seniors will know more about it if you ask for leave. Juefeng lowered his head. No one knew what he was thinking. His mood was a little complicated. He suddenly thought of the time when his father sold him to give him the amulet. He couldn't help but feel sad and angry. He looked up at Luochio and said with hatred, Since my problem can be solved by taking away the demon wolf soul from my body, then why didn't you make this deal with my father, instead give me this kind of thing? On one hand, when your parents gave birth to you, both of them were greatly injured. Even their souls were hurt. On the other hand, Mr. Tanlang didn't find us at the beginning. He wandered around. He also experienced many things. Luochu shook his head and said, when he finally decided to find us, he didn't have enough bargaining chips to complete this matter. Juefeng looked gloomy. He thought of the time when he broke his mother's body and was born. At this time, Boss Luo said softly, finally, I think the reason why Mr. Tanlang let you live at least 60 years is probably because he hoped that after he was gone, you would have at least 60 years of life. Because he didn't know, if he was gone, even if you don't have the demon wolf's power to trouble you, whether you can safely grow up. A few decades ago, the monster world seemed to be a little chaotic. Dad, Juefeng took a deep breath, looked up at the night sky again. Silently, he seemed to be thinking about something. Some words seemed to be lingering in his ears not long ago. Gradually, it became clear in his mind. This is for you. At this time, Boss Luo waved his finger. A black card was sent to Juefeng, a black card with one mark left. Juefeng took this black card with a complicated expression. He held it tightly, but looked at Luochio. His eyes were firm. I will continue to hold this card, but not because I will make a deal with you again. It's because it was left to me by my father. At this time, Boss Luo and Miss Servant Girl slightly bowed to Juefeng at the same time. Then, thank you for coming, Mr. Juefeng. Juefeng snorted, suddenly jumping down. Only his voice came from afar. Humph! It's Uncle Juefeng. Remember? Boss Luo suddenly stretched himself, inhaling the cold night air, and suddenly said, What a wonderful night! Master, are you happy? Miss Servant Girl asked softly. The soul fragment of Xianji, this is a big deal. Isn't it worth being happy about? Luochio asked back. Miss Servant Girl smiled slightly. Master wouldn't be happy because of the transaction fee. He didn't care about the amount of transaction fee. Luochio looked at this time, suddenly saying, Well, it seems that the old shop owner gave Mr. Tanlang a lot of equipment over there. I think Mr. Tanlang won't be bored over there, right? Watching TV and watching programs is like a long vacation. Miss Servant Girl showed a puzzled expression, but then she heard Luochio saying softly at this time, May you have good luck, if not, may you learn to be merciful in misfortune. May you be loved by many people, if not, may you learn to be tolerant in loneliness. Chapter 532. After the club boss left with Juefeng, Cheese could only look at Chichi Kamaya helplessly. He still didn't know the real identity of Long so he could only ask for help from this elder. Since he said that Xuefeng won't die, then he won't die. Don't worry. Long Shiro. Long shook her head. At least in this aspect, there's a guarantee. Otherwise, the club boss wouldn't appear. If he couldn't save Xuefeng, wouldn't he be smashing his own reputation? You are. Cheese looked at Long. It seemed that Mr. Turtle stood in front of this little girl with a slightly respectful look. I'm Chichi Kamaya's student. Long suddenly said. Chichi Kamaya gave a start. But this statement didn't seem wrong. He suddenly understood Long Shirua's plan. It was inconvenient for her to keep this appearance. She couldn't expose herself in front of others, so it was better to use this opportunity to create a new identity. Cheese nodded. But he had never seen a teacher afraid of a student. At this time, Long walked to Emo Xiaofei, squatted down, and her fingers went deep into his gas mask. She touched his carotid artery and frowned. This guy, how did he get hurt like this? Chichi Kamaya said. I heard him mention some kind of superpower just now. Humans have such superpowers since ancient times, but only those with extraordinary talents who are favored by the heavens would be born. Before the war, Western ideas began to integrate into Kelowna, and the discipline called science began to spread in Kelowna. People began to face this kind of power. I heard that during the war, the country had a secret organization to develop a superpower force. At that time, I thought it was interesting and did some research. Chichi Kamaya, will you die if you don't throw your bag? Long stared back. Chichi Kamaya hurriedly said, superpower is born because of the evolution of the brain. But the human body is too fragile, and it hasn't evolved to the point where it can bear superpower. This young man might have overused his superpower and caused serious damage to his brain. Chichi Kamaya hurriedly felt Emo Xiaofei's pulse on his wrist. He can be saved, but his body is almost broken down. I'm afraid he can't bear the use of superpower. Chichi Kamaya sighed. This young man is quite a character. There are very few people I admire in my life, but this young man is one. He was actually willing to sacrifice himself to save someone who was completely unrelated to him. Rare. Let's take him away first. Long frowned as she heard the sirens of the fire engine and police car. Besides, the scene was in chaos. Everyone was busy chasing away the little bugs around them, as well as pouncing on the sky-cracker monkeys. They were too busy, so they didn't notice this. But who knows? Yes, an iron whistle, I'll deal with him well. Chichi Kamaya nodded, but looked at Cheese. Little guy, you come too. You have to face some things eventually. I know what happened tonight is too cruel for you, but remember, this is also a part of cultivating the mind. If you can face all this, it will be very beneficial for you. Cheese didn't care about the benefits, but just nodded silently. Xuefeng faced that kind of pain alone, but he didn't really hurt anyone. How could he be so cowardly? If he couldn't face this, when Xuefeng came back, how could he face him? Master Tortoise. Finally, can I have a word with Iron Whistle? Chichi Kamaya glanced at Longer secretly, but Longer nodded slightly. Inside the huge ice crystal, there was now a hole inside. The appearance of this hole allowed the meat inside to move again, and turn into a whole body again, but it was still in the shape of Shuyu. Iron Whistle, are you Iron Whistle? Cheese touched the ice. Iron Whistle also reached out his hand and put his palms together with Cheese's. He looked at Cheese silently without saying anything. They said that they killed a lot of monsters and ate a lot of humans. Is that true? Iron Whistle nodded straightforwardly. Is it true that you want to kill Xiao Jiang? Why? Because I'm hungry. Cheese's fingers trembled, and he finally plucked up his courage. You also want to eat me, right? Iron Whistle nodded. From the beginning, I planned to eat you. Cheese's face turned gloomier. He subconsciously thought of the moonlit night when Iron Whistle appeared, and followed the whistle to come here. he said sadly. My father was also eaten by you? Iron Whistle said indifferently, yes. I was created, and I will eat whatever the Creator fed me. Because I need food so that I can grow. Cheese lowered his head, and his palms slowly slid down. He slowly knelt in front of the ice, and his eyes turned red. This ice was not thick, but the thing in between was so far that he couldn't touch it at all. Why did you eat so many humans and monsters? Cheese didn't raise his head. You told me that if you were hungry, I would make a lot of food for you. Wasn't it always like this before? Why did you hurt so many people? Iron Whistle didn't move, and said indifferently, ordinary creatures are not enough, I need more things. Master Turtle will kill you. Cheese raised his head. They will all kill you. Don't you know? Can't you not do this from the start? Iron Whistle looked at Cheese and suddenly asked, logically speaking, your father was also eaten by me, but you don't seem to hate me. Even if I wanted to eat you just now, why? Logically speaking, what I did to you is enough to make you angry, hateful, and fearful. Cheese smiled bitterly and murmured, Zhuifeng said that I'm hypocritical, seems to be right. On one hand, I do hate you, on the other hand, I don't want to. I even fantasize that you are my father, and you are Iron Whistle. I fantasize that you are the same, in that case. Iron Whistle shook his head. There's no such perfect thing in the world. Yeah, there's no such perfect thing in the world. Cheese smiled bitterly again, and looked at Iron Whistle. Shu Yu's vague appearance through the ice and said sadly, Dad, do you know? Since you left, I told myself to be strong and not cry, because I want to grow up, take care of my family, and be independent. But growing up is really painful, very painful. Iron Whistle suddenly looked at Cheese, and there was a touch of tenderness in his eyes. His voice seemed to be very soft as the voice of Shu Yu in Cheese's memory when he was sleeping. Yeah, growing up is really painful, very painful, some pain, even more painful than physical injuries. I think I'm beginning to understand what pain is. Cheese raised his head subconsciously, and showed a touch of horror. At this time, Shu Yu, Iron Whistle suddenly peeled off his body. Under this bloody scene, his original cells, the source of all his power, appeared. My core is here, if you want to kill me, do it now. Iron Whistle's words shocked everyone present. Chichi-Kamaya frowned and said suspiciously, Oh? You're so obedient, are you playing some tricks again? I've suffered once, and I won't be so easily fooled this time. Unexpectedly, Iron Whistle said, I can't break these ice cubes, I really have no way this time. You're very careful, and didn't leave any space for me to escape. Like what you said, you've suffered once, so naturally you'll be more careful. Then I'll meet my end. So I'll feel better if I choose death directly. Chichi-Kamaya said indifferently, You've seen it clearly. To be honest, many people or monsters can't be as calm as you. They'll struggle until the end. Iron Whistle said, It's not the same, because I'm in pain now, and I want to end this pain as soon as possible. But it doesn't mean that I surrender because I can't resist you. Chichi-Kamaya and Long-Earth's eyes narrowed. Iron Whistle said indifferently, You said that you want to kill me because of your selfishness. But I still don't understand. My birth was created, and I can't make the decision myself. I need food to grow, and that's my instinct. I can't kill my instinct. I just want to live, but you want to kill me because of your selfishness, and deprive me of my right to live because of your selfishness. In my eyes, what I eat is food, and in your eyes, what you eat is also food. What's the difference between you and me? Chichi-Kamaya sighed. Since you don't understand, then continue to not understand. Understanding is another kind of pain for you. I'm sorry for depriving you of your right to live, because we're indeed selfish. So, other than this apology, this old man has nothing else to give you. Chichi-Kamaya's eyes narrowed, and a sharp icicle started to stretch out from the ice crystal, piercing towards the exposed cell of Iron Whistle. Wait a minute. Cheese suddenly stopped Chichi Kamaya. Little guy, can't you see the situation clearly? Chichi Kamaya didn't dare to be angry. Cheese stared at Chichi Kamaya firmly. His eyes shocked the monster elder. How could this kid have such a sharp gaze? That was not the suppression of Yao Qi, but a kind of pressure on the spiritual level. Zishu? Suddenly, this name flashed across Chichi Kamaya's mind. Cheese said sadly, Master Gui, I don't want to stop you from killing Iron Whistle. I know that Iron Whistle's mistake can't be forgiven. But I hope it's me who does it. You. Chichi Kamaya gazed deeply at Cheese. How sad and firm his eyes were. Fine. Chichi Kamaya nodded, and then suddenly threw his sword into the ice crystal. When the tip of the sword was less than an inch away from the cell, it stopped precisely. Even though the sword pierced into the ice crystal, it didn't leave any gap. There wasn't any space for Iron Whistle to escape. Iron Whistle sneered. I told you to kill me, but you didn't believe me. But you don't believe me and instead play these little tricks. Chichi Kamaya said indifferently, I've lived for a long time, so sometimes I have to be mean. I've apologized, so I don't think I owe you anything. Iron Whistle didn't say anything. Cheese took a deep breath, holding the sword hilt with both hands. Iron Whistle, thank you for coming here. Thank you for accompanying me when I was lonely. He cried, if possible, I really want to make everything perfect, but since it's so cruel, then I'll use my hands to understand it. Thank you for giving me a beautiful dream, even if it's fake. Thank you for letting me hug my father again. Thank you. He opened his eyes wide, not allowing himself to blink out of instinct. He opened his eyes, and faced everything in front of him. Thank you for coming into my life. Thank you. With a smile and tears, Cheese pushed the tip of the sword. The exposed cell was cut into two halves by the blade without any hindrance. You've really grown up. Such a voice seemed to have sounded before, but it didn't. Because it was too light. Iron Whistle's body suddenly melted and turned into a pool of pus, filling the hole in the ice crystal. It's finally over. Long-Er sighed softly. Her heart was not at peace this night. Everything that had happened had a great impact on her. Perhaps she had already experienced the same thing long ago. In the long years of her life, how could she not have seen similar things? But this night, it was different. Cheese still held the sword blade motionlessly. Chichi Kamaya wanted to comfort him, but he didn't know what to say, so he kept silent. Perhaps giving him some peace and quiet was the best consolation. Cheese suddenly raised his head. Did he meet Iron Whistle on such a moonlit night? He took out the precious whistle from his collar and put it on his lip. Beep, 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 beep. Kid, take this thing. As long as you blow it, no matter where you are, I'll find you and come to you. Beep, 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 beep. Again and again. He blew again and 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 again. This was growth. Chapter 533. Chichi Kamaya melted the ice bit by bit. Even though he saw Iron Whistle turned into pus, he didn't let his guard down. When he finished checking and found that the pus didn't change, he let out a sigh of relief and nodded to Long Shirua. Long-Er suddenly said, Chichi Kamaya, take Cheese to Shu Shaoshu and take care of this human. I'll be back soon. Chichi Kamaya was stunned, asking in a low voice, Lord Long, where are you going? Long Shirua said indifferently, such a big mess, I have to find a way to solve it. I can't turn a blind eye to some responsibilities. After saying this, Long Shirua found a way and climbed down from here. Wow. Second young master, the car is ready. Let's leave here first. It's too dirty outside. Qing Yun said to Zhong Luochen quickly, but this second young master suddenly picked up the telescope and looked at the sky from the beginning. Qing Yiran and Hong Guan's performance was amazing. The entire audience couldn't help but stand up. In the last part of the song, there was even a super strong chorus from the audience. This kind of treatment could only be enjoyed by those famous stars with a huge fan base. Qing Yiran and Hong Guan actually did it. Qing Yun suddenly felt that it was right to arrange Hong Guan as the last singer. This time, those guys outside had nothing to say, right? Last time, they all made excuses, saying other singers were just playing and didn't sing seriously. Some even went out of tune. Some even said a mysterious force was threatening these singers to lip sync. This time, they had nothing to say, right? Those who came on stage before didn't get thunderous applause. They all showed their real strength, right? But none of them could reach the level of Qing Yiran and Hong Guan. It was a good show, but it was ruined in the end. He didn't know which B** starred was behind this prank. Qing Yun almost went crazy. It was a good situation. No need, I'll stay here. Zhong Luochen shook his head. Anyway, it's safe here. You go ask the director if he knows what happened. Saying this, Zhong Luochen raised the telescope again. Qing Yun still didn't understand. What was there to see outside? Qing Yiran and Hong Guan's wonderful performance just now. He almost forgot himself. But this second young master seemed to have raised the telescope at that time? Okay. I'll go right away. But the girl still obeyed the order. After Qing Yun left, Zhong Luochen muttered to himself, in this world, how many things are there that I don't know? I wish you grow up slowly. After saying this, Luoqiu suddenly heaved a sigh, thinking about something. After a while, Boss Luo returned to his indifferent look. At this moment, Yu Yi opened her mouth. Miss Long, so you like to hide at the side and do something sneaky? You're the sneaky ones. On the other side, a small figure could be seen climbing up with great difficulty. He took a deep breath and said angrily, Do you think I can climb up as I please? Do you think it's so easy for me? Miss Long, if you need me, just call me. Luoqiu smiled. But Miss Long knows I'm here. Kelowna Shinryu's intuition is really scary. At this time, Longer said indifferently, I used to be like this, standing on a high place to observe everything in the world. Now, it seems like I'm a fool. However, I believe that other than me, there must be other idiots who also like this. Miss Maid narrowed her eyes slightly, but Boss Luo didn't care about it. The scenery here is good. Longer snorted and frowned. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Zhuifeng, is he also a descendant of the greedy wolf? Luoqiu said, Miss Long, didn't you eavesdrop? Oh no, you heard it on the way up? Long Shiruo was furious. So, you're like the worst puppeteer, treating all creatures as puppets and controlling them, making them suffer, sad and crazy? Luoqiu thought for a while and shook his head. I'm not a puppeteer, and they're not puppets. They can't be anyone's puppets. For me, they're all individuals. They will make their own choices and don't need the interference of others. Long Shiruo was still angry, really? But in the end, after experiencing all the sadness and pain, everyone has a lingering pain in their hearts. Only you're the only ones who benefit. Isn't this enough to prove it? Luoqiu didn't answer this time, but said indifferently, Let's talk about the business. After all, I'm a businessman. Miss Long, do you want to do business with me this time? Long Shiruo angrily stared at Luoqiu. She still didn't know whether this guy was good or bad, but she didn't have time to argue with him. She said with hatred, I'm here to sell my blood, are you satisfied this time? Of course, it's a great honor to have business. Luoqiu bowed and said softly, Dear customer, what do you want to buy? First, that young man. Long Shiruo stretched out her arms and pulled up her sleeves. Don't tell me you don't know who I'm talking about. This guy is not bad, I like him. I don't want him to die at such an early age. You have to take care of him, and don't let him get hurt because of using his superpower. Such a human, although it's not much, but one less, the world will lose a color. 200 milliliters, Shinryu's blood. Boss Luo said softly. Long Shiruo gritted her teeth. Second, fill up the hole in the basketball court, and erase all the videos or photos that might have captured our existence tonight. Although those people looked like crazy, but there's no guarantee that we weren't captured. Well, 50 milliliters, Shinryu's blood, Boss Luo said again. Long Shirua glared at him and suddenly said, I want to know, has Shu Yu's soul truly dissipated? Well, Miss Long, since you keep doing business, I'll give you a discount. 1 milliliter of Shinryu's blood is enough for this information. But I can tell you first, we'll pay together later. Luochio said indifferently, Shu Yu's soul no longer exists in this world. Long Shirua smiled bitterly. She had a feeling that even if he said he didn't own it anymore, this shop could still be made. But the price wouldn't be simple. But she still couldn't help but ask, can you sell it? How much? 1,500 milliliters, Shinryu's blood. Or a drop of Shinryu's blood will do. Boss Luo said softly. So cheap? Long Shirua couldn't help but open her eyes wide. Or, Shinryu's blood was really so valuable in the eyes of this shop? I want to come back. I'll use Shinryu's blood. Long Shirua sighed. Although it was only a drop of blood, it was much more precious than Shinryu's blood. Although a drop of blood and 1,500 milliliters of blood were of the same value, the time needed to refine 1,000 milliliters of blood was different. Finally, Long Shirua thought for a while and said, I've made an agreement with some human beings. I won't let the monster race be exposed to human beings, especially in places under my jurisdiction. This time, Iron Whistle's incident was caused by Xiang Lu. I can deal with the monsters killed by Iron Whistle. But those humans eaten by it, I need you to deal with them. In particular, this matter had already involved the human police. I want to solve this incident and stop them from investigating. What do you want to do, Ms. Long? Boss Luo asked back. Just do it well. Long Shirua shook her head and said, You can think of a way. Well, 10 milliliters then. Boss Luo nodded. Anything else? Long Shirua kept silent for a while and said indifferently, That's all. But your rule is to give the goods first and then receive the transaction fee. So if you want to get the payment, you have to work hard. Of course, it's a small business. Boss Luo smiled. Long Shirua glanced at him with hatred and said, But I still don't agree with you. I don't agree with the harm you've done to those creatures. After saying that, Long ran back to the place where she came from and climbed down clumsily again. Luochio suddenly said, It seems that we can go back later. Yi, let's work. Okay. When the night wind blew over, a puddle of pus slightly rippled in a certain high place of the empty gymnasium. However, after the wind blew, the ripples did not stop. Instead, they continued to form circles of ripples. In the end, the pool of pus began to swell. Layer by layer, it finally turned into a blurry figure. It hadn't fully formed yet, but it suddenly heard a voice, the voice that often appeared and talked to it. The voice that told it a lot of things but didn't tell it a lot of things. It's safe now. The voice said. Yeah, it was so dangerous. It said slowly, In that case, if I didn't let them think that I really wanted to die, they probably wouldn't let me go. So I had to do this. I deliberately exposed and created a fake original nucleus. Fortunately, I fooled all of them. Humans usually call this kind of behavior cunning. Really? It was silent for a while. That guy just said that after living for so many years, we should be more despicable. He can do it, so can I. Well, have you tasted the so-called pain? The voice suddenly asked again. Yes, I have. Its form gradually became clearer, and a part of its head could be seen shaking gently. I don't think I want to experience the same thing again. I plan to take something from you, do you mind? What do you want to take from me? It was very vigilant. Something that brought you pain. But after taking it, I'm afraid you'll lose something. For example, your feelings for cheese may not be as strong. It was silent for a while. You can take it. Take it as a reward for talking to me and teaching me so many things. Suddenly, A ghastly white ball of light slowly floated out of its body. After the ball of light left its body, it suddenly felt its body relax, and that kind of pain immediately dissipated by quite a bit. "How do you feel?" the voice continued. It thought for a while and said, "It's okay, it's not so bad. Instead, it's uncomfortable. It's very light, but I can accept it. What are you going to do after this?" It thought for a while and said, "I think I will leave this place. There are too many guys here who can't tolerate my existence, and I don't have enough strength to resist them, so I want to leave." "Where are you going?" It thought for a long time and said with certainty, "I was created, and there should be others who were created like me. They are my companions, I want to find my companions. Since I was born in this world, there must be a reason for my existence. I want to find my companions, I want to find the reason why I was born. I want to know why I was born if the creatures in this world can't tolerate me." It finally took shape. It was not a monster with 4 limbs and various organs, nor did it look like Shu Yu. Instead, it looked like a certain character in an anime that could go on for several episodes or even more than 10 episodes, and could obviously blow up the Earth thousands of times but still could not do so. It was like Cell. Its eyes were as smart as a human's, looking at the night sky. "Find the answer that belongs to me." With that, it no longer lingered on the voice that used to spend time with it, turning around and jumping away from this place, quietly. Luochio watched the green and black body go away. Until it finally disappeared, he took a look at the pale light ball in his hand, saying softly, "It's been less than a month since it was born, but it has already started to think about the meaning of being a candidate. Be it humans or demons, they were much faster than humans or demons. Evolution," Luochio said, "Prometheus is really an incredible creature. I hope we can meet again, Iron Whistle. Master, Yu Yi is ready." Suddenly, the servant girl's voice came from behind. Boss Luo turned around and saw a burly man. This burly man looked extremely ferocious, with crisscrossing scars on his face, and he was holding a pair of huge scissors that was half a person's height. "Is this okay, Master?" Chapter 534. Lin Feng helped up a man who had fallen on the steps, and then looked at the people in the audience with a blank expression. "What a mess, but who made such a big scene? Zhuifeng, who is it?" Lin Feng shook his head. He still planned to meet up with Ma Haud as soon as possible, although he received a call from Ren Xiling halfway through the program, telling him that it was Sir Ma's order and that he should stop flirting with girls and come out to look for someone. But it was all thanks to Ren Xiling's call. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. He would never go out with his female netizens again. It was like 2 different people. He felt like he was hit by 10,000 points of critical hit. Fortunately, he had this call. But he didn't see any similar little girl on the way. He was confused by Ching Iran's song halfway through and stopped unconsciously. It was better not to report this matter, right? Strange. Why can't I get through to Sir Ma's phone? Lin Feng had to frown at this time, and then he had to use some means that he wouldn't use unless it was necessary. Because he and Sir Ma were almost partners, in order to deal with emergencies, both of their phones were installed with GPS software. "Is it this way?" Lin Feng looked at the location information on his phone as he felt around to leave. "Damn. I stepped on a dead cockroach." When Ma Haud woke up, what he saw was an extremely horrible face, densely covered with scars. What exactly did he go through to have such horrible scars? But Ma Haud didn't have time to think about the reason for these scars, but he quickly got all the information he could at this time. He was tied up with a hemp rope and couldn't move, and he was in the toilet. It was the men's toilet. And here, on the floor, on the wall, and even on the wash basin, he could see a lot of sputtering blood. Of course, what was more horrifying was that there were some broken limbs, broken arms, broken thighs, and so on. Ma Haud suddenly felt a chill from his feet to the top of his head, a burst of trouble. "Who the hell are you?" This man with a face full of scars smiled. Even if he smiled, he looked like an evil ghost. Suddenly, he gently inserted a huge pair of scissors into the floor, then squatted down, squinting his eyes, and reached out to pick up Ma Hao's ID card hanging on his neck. "So it's Officer Ma, nice to meet you." His voice was like the grinding of rusty gears, extremely unpleasant to the ear. Ma Hao was still calm, trying to think of a way to escape, and asked, "What's your name? Why are you here? What happened here?" The scar-faced man smiled coldly and said, "Do you policemen like to ask questions that you already know the answer to? Do you still need to ask? Don't you understand these things? Don't worry, you will become like them soon." With that, the big man stood up, held the two ends of the huge scissors in both hands, and swung them with a kacha-kacha sound. Should I start from your neck or your stomach? Or should I cut off your thighs first? Looking at the huge pair of scissors slowly approaching, Ma Hao sweated. How many people have you killed?" I don't remember." The man squinted his eyes and smiled. "Is there a need to remember? Isn't it enough to kill to your heart's content?" Huge pair of scissors, the broken limbs here. Ma Hao's mind suddenly flashed, and he blurted out, "Last time, the victim of the headless tramp was also killed by you." Tramp? The man was stunned, then suddenly realized, "You are talking about that guy. I remember." The man with scars sneered. "That guy, he was obviously a waste, but he made fun of me for being ugly. TSK, I had no choice but to cut off his head and burn it. Poochie, like the smell of barbecue. Officer, have you tried to barbecue a human head?" "You! Madman!" Ma Hao's eyes widened. After so many years of work, he had never seen such a ferocious guy. "This week, the worker in the stadium, was it also killed by you?" The man with scars said, "You have too many questions. I can do whatever I want to do, it is my freedom. You don't have to worry about it. You should worry about yourself." Ma Hao saw that he had no chance to escape. With an unwilling look, he gritted his teeth and said, "Wait. I know I am going to die, but at least I want to die willingly. At least tell me your name. In my next life, if I can reincarnate, I will take revenge on you. Even if I become a ghost, you won't let me go?" The man laughed twice. "I like it. I will fulfill your wish. Remember, my name is Xuefeng." At this time, the scissors had already reached Ma Hao's neck. Sir Ma glared at it. Just as the scissors were about to close, suddenly, a loud sound was heard. After the sound of the toilet door hitting the wall, another angry voice was heard. "Sir Ma, I am coming to save you. Lin Feng." At this time, Lin Feng was holding a mop in his hand. As he spoke, he hit the man's head with the mop. The man was hit and seemed to be seeing stars. He couldn't stand still and could only lean on the washbasin. But Officer Lin, who was proficient in military combat, didn't give up so easily. He immediately took advantage of the situation and continued to attack. The man struggled to resist, and the huge scissors in his hand swept fiercely. The sharp blade cut through Lin Feng's coat, but at this time, Ma Hao took the opportunity to suddenly straighten his back, raised his leg and kicked the man's lower back. Sir Ma shouted, "Damn it! Try my deadly scissors kick." Ma Hao twisted his legs with force. The man suddenly lost his balance. Lin Feng saw the opportunity and hit him with the mop again. This time, he used so much strength that the mop broke directly. The man suddenly felt dizzy and staggered to the ground. Lin Feng rushed up, reversed the man's hands and handcuffed them behind his back. Then, he used his arms to strangle the man's neck. When the man finally fainted, he heaved a heavy sigh of relief. That was close. "Sir Ma, are you hurt?" Lin Feng quickly untied the ropes on Ma Hao. Sir Ma wiped his cold sweat and said, "Damn it, I almost died here tonight. Luckily you came in time. I couldn't get through to your phone, so I got the GPS. It was really close." Lin Feng nodded and said, "But who is this guy?" Ma Hao frowned and said, He said his name was Juefeng, but I think it might be a fake name or a code name. This guy is very likely to be a criminal in these murders. Also, before he made a move on me, he probably killed a few more people. Lin Feng also looked at the bloody toilet in horror. He actually used such a huge scissor as a weapon. How cruel is this guy? I just talked to him, Ma Hao said seriously. This guy definitely has an abnormal antisocial personality and is extremely dangerous. It must be locked back at night. Oh right. How is it outside? Did you find the bomb? What bomb? Lin Feng was stunned. Then, he narrated the scene of the cockroach that had happened not long ago. It's not a bomb. Juefeng? Ma Hao shook his head. Let's wait until this guy wakes up, then we'll use all kinds of methods. We must make him tell the truth from the beginning to the end. I'll inform our brothers to come here. Lin Feng nodded and said, They're all here, our people and the firefighters. Ma Hao touched his neck. F***ck. I'm lucky that I'm still alive. Zhuge. Zhuge. Where are you? Zhuge? The girl anxiously walked in the corridor while shouting this name. At the same time, she looked at her mobile phone in annoyance. In the chaos just now, her mobile phone was hit by someone and fell to the ground. It was even stepped on and could not be turned on. Since Zhuge said that he had a stomachache and ran to the toilet, he had not come back. The girl had no choice but to look for him in the corridor of this floor. However, she had already gone to the nearest men's toilet and shouted for a long time, but there was no response. Zhuge! Zhuge! Where are you? Damn fatty! Come out! The girl was almost crying. Didn't you say that you would never leave me alone again? Damn fatty! Fatty! Suddenly, the girl heard a doubtful voice, and subconsciously turned around to see a rather leisurely young man. He did not look like a frightened audience at all. There was also a familiar feeling, as if she had seen him somewhere before. However, the girl did not care about that and quickly walked forward. Yes, yes. He is very fat. His name is Zhuge. Have you seen him? The young man blinked. I don't know if his name is Zhuge, but he is quite fat. I saw him at the corner just now, leaning against the vending machine, wearing a yellow coat. Is he the one you are looking for? Yes, yes. He is wearing a yellow coat. The girl nodded gratefully. Thank you. By the way, have we met somewhere before? The young man smiled. Go find the person you are looking for. He should be a very important person, right? Girls don't look good when they cry. The girl quickly wiped the tears on her face. This young man had an indescribable mystery and gentleness. Perhaps if it were not for Zhuge, she would also be a little moved in the past. But now it was no longer the case. In the future, other than that damn fatty, she would not be moved by anyone else. The girl quickly nodded and trotted away. The young man smiled and gradually disappeared in the long corridor. The girl followed the young man's instructions and quickly found Zhuge leaning against the vending machine. At this time, Zhuge was leaning against the vending machine, and when he saw the girl, his face suddenly changed. The girl immediately became angry. Damn fatty! Why are you hiding here? Do you know how hard it was to find you? With that, the girl rushed towards Zhuge. Unexpectedly, Zhuge quickly waved his hand. Don't come over. Don't come over. Don't come over. Zhuge, you. Why are you? The girl's face changed slightly, and it seemed that she was about to cry. It's not like what you think. It's because, Zhuge said bitterly, if you come over, you will regret it. You will definitely regret it. The girl frowned and suddenly moved her nose. Zhuge? What's that smell, so smelly? Turn around. Zhuge desperately shook his head. No. I don't want it even if I die. Then tell me what happened. The girl said indifferently, if you don't tell me clearly, I will leave you here and go home. You think of a way to go back yourself. Don't. I'll tell you. Zhuge's face was ugly. Just now I went to find the toilet, and then I didn't make it, and then, the primordial power had erupted. I didn't want to do that. This is force majeure, okay? Then I can only hide here. Why didn't you tell me immediately? The girl angrily said. Juga lowered his head and said, Because it's really too embarrassing. How could I say it? The girl suddenly laughed through her tears. Okay? Really? I thought you had an accident. I didn't mean to ignore you. Juga quickly explained. The girl lightly shook her head. As long as you are okay, it's good. Juga emotionally looked at the girl, and couldn't help but walk forward. He swallowed his saliva, and wanted to kiss the girl's lips. Although he had kissed her many times, he couldn't resist this time. Unexpectedly, the girl pinched her nose and avoided him, with a look of disdain on her face. Don't come close now! Why are you like this? Juga wanted to cry, but no tears came out. The girl suddenly blushed, and said in a low voice, At least wait until we get home. After a shower, you can do whatever you want. Ooh. When Long Shiruo found Chichikamaya, she saw the old turtle standing in front of a door, next to him. Why are you here? Where are they? Long Shiruo walked forward, frowning, and subconsciously looked inside the door. To her surprise, the first person she saw was Xuefeng. Of course, in addition to Xuefeng, Cheese, Nini, Xiao Jiang and Shu Xiaoshu were also there. Lord Long, let's not disturb them first. Chichikamaya said softly at this time. Long Shiruo nodded. She saw Xuefeng suddenly kneel on the ground, his head almost touching the floor, and loudly said, I'm really sorry. If I wasn't a bastard, I wouldn't have caused so many problems. I'm sorry. You can beat me and scold me until you calm down. Nini and Xiao Jiang, who woke up, looked at Cheese at this time, only to see Cheese's expressionless face, saying indifferently, Do you think you can just apologize and let us beat you? Xuefeng raised his head, but said firmly, I know I'm a bastard. But I don't really ask you to forgive me. Just give me the punishment you can think of, at least I'll feel better in my heart. Cheese fiercely punched Xuefeng's face. Xuefeng didn't resist and was hit to the ground, but he didn't cry out in pain. Instead, he looked relieved. Cheese stretched out his hand to Xuefeng. Get up, it's over. Cheese, why are you? Cheese said softly. Idiot, everyone is tired today. Whether it's you, me, my mother, Nini, or Xiao Jiang. We're all tired, why don't we relax a little? I have to go home and wash diapers for my younger brother and sister. I really don't have time to beat you here. Cheese. I'm sorry. Xuefeng's eyes turned red. Since you saved me once, I'll forgive you this time. Xiao Jiang snorted, however, I'll let you go this time. You're not allowed to hit my head in the future. Xiao Jiang. I won't forgive you so easily. Nini said with a straight face, It's not easy to make an appointment tonight and… Xuefeng, I'm telling you. If you don't give me 10, no, 20 Hello Kitty dolls, don't expect me to talk to you again? Nini, Cheese grinned. What are you waiting for? Stand up, leader. Leader. Xuefeng rubbed his face hard, desperately wiping again and again, but angrily said, You guys… These guys are Master Xuefeng? Not knowing why, Long Shiruo smiled knowingly. She said to herself, I hope they can really grow up in the future, remember what happened today, and continue to support each other. Chichikamaya sighed. Although the pain will always be there, but because of the pain, they will cherish the things in front of them more. Strictly speaking, this was a very good and true test for them. Because of the lingering pain, they can see the future more clearly. It's so good to be young. Long Shiruo gave a start. Thinking of the words she said to the shop owner out of anger 10 minutes ago. Because of the lingering pain, they can see the future more clearly. How could she not understand this logic? But, at that time she was really too angry. I really don't understand, is he a good person or a bad person? Long Shiruo shook her head, and her eyes suddenly became complicated. Lord Long, just now, did you? Chichi-Kamaya suddenly asked. Long Shira shook her head again, and suddenly took out a small test tube, and handed it to Chichi-Kamaya. Chichi-Kamaya, give this to that little human brother to drink, and let him get better. It can strengthen his body, and let him get better, Long Shirua said indifferently. Chichi-Kamaya narrowed his eyes, and he probably guessed the origin of this thing, so he sighed. This little brother is also a person with good fortune. At this time, a pale light ball appeared out of nowhere, and slowly landed in front of Long Shirua. Kelowna's Shinryu was slightly stunned, and then she held the light ball in her palm with a heavy face. Chichi-Kamaya's expression was solemn. Long said softly, Shu Yu's soul. I didn't expect that. Chichi-Kamaya was shocked. Long Shirua shook her head. Don't tell Cheese first. Let me think of a way to make a carrier for it. I've talked with Yun Zhongzi before, and I should be able to find a way to make a fake body. Chichi-Kamaya smiled gently. Zhuifeng, Cheese, and the others all had their own growth. Wasn't this little princess also the same? In the past, Kelowna's Shinryu didn't waste time on these superfluous things. You keep it first, I can't accept it now. Long Shirua gave the light ball to Chichi-Kamaya, and then suddenly said, Oh, there's one more thing, you need to help me. At your service, Chichi-Kamaya said respectfully. Remember, this is an extremely dangerous felon. You must keep a close watch on him, at all costs. Don't move your eyes away from him until he's sent to the iron cage. Standing in front of a police car, Officer Ma ordered in a deep voice. This was the third time he had done so. Sir Ma, don't worry. He won't be able to escape. Two policemen sandwiched the big guy from left and right, and locked their own hands and the big guy's hands. They even put on a rope. There were two policemen in front of them. Mahoud nodded. After watching the police car drive away, he was slightly relieved. He had just received an order from his superior to help deal with the chaos in the venue. I didn't expect that the murderer of these murders would be caught here. Lin Feng shook his head. It's a pity for those dead people. Mahoud's mood was somewhat complicated. At this moment, a figure ran towards him. Old Ma! Old Ma! It was Ren Xiling. Sub-editor Ren Xiling came with a chagrined face. Mahoud rarely saw such a childlike expression from Ren Xiling. He couldn't help but soften his heart, saying in a low voice, Don't tell me you've been looking for him until now? Ren Xiling's face was a bit pale. I'm sorry. I haven't found him. I'm sorry. Don't worry, there are many people here. Mahoud continued to comfort her. I'll ask someone to pay attention to him. He looks like a blessed person, so he should be fine. Although there are many bad people in this world, there are not as many as we think. Most of them are still conscientious. I hope so. Ren Xiling nodded helplessly. Elder sister. A tender voice sounded from behind Ren Xiling. It was Long Er's voice. Ren Xiling's face was full of joy. She quickly turned around and saw a small figure. Who else could it be but Long Er? At this moment, Long Er was led by an old lady, walking over slowly. Long Er, you're fine. Ren Xiling walked directly to Long Er, squatting down. You scared me to death. I suddenly saw you and then you disappeared. I saw my grandma, so I ran out, Long Er said in a childish voice. I'm sorry for causing trouble for you. It's all because of my little granddaughter's mischievous behavior. The old lady kept apologizing, but her heart was breaking down. Damn it, I'm a dignified elder of the monster race, but I have to pretend to be an old lady here. How dare I? Old lady, how can you let such a small child wander around? You have to take good care of her, okay? This time, Officer Ma was probably in a good mood because he caught the criminal, so he started to preach endlessly at the moment. When had a dignified elder of the monster race ever been scolded in front of ordinary people? But this time, she couldn't say anything, so she could only continue to apologize. If it wasn't Lord Long's order as a Shinryu of Kelowna, why would he care about these humans? I don't understand. Sir, this human, that's enough. If you keep scolding, I'll go back and cast a spell on you. Well, you're tired today. Let's go back to Long and have a rest. Ma Howd finally let the old lady go. Looking at the old lady and Long leaving, Ma Howd touched his chin and said, this little girl is so cute. It's a pity that my wife is pregnant, or I'll give birth to another one. What's wrong with your eyes? You're disrespectful. Ren Xiling snorted. Damn it. I still have the ability. Ma Howd roared. Sister Ren. You're here. Lizzie ran from afar. She didn't need to breathe, but now she was panting. So you're here, I've been looking for you for a long time. What happened? Ren Xiling shrugged. A bundle of cloth is so long, I'll tell you when I have time. I'm starving now. Let's go, let's call Luochio and Yu Yi to have supper. Are they okay? It seems like something terrible just happened. Supper. Roar. I'm hungry too. Lizzie suddenly showed an excited look. I know a place nearby that has good food. You only know how to eat. Ren Xiling shook her head, but suddenly looked up at the night sky. She saw an orange light rushing to the sky. When this ray of light rose to the highest point, it suddenly exploded with a deafening sound. Then, little by little, the comet-like light began to spread out, dragging a long tail behind it. Under the night sky, a huge colorful flower spread out, but this time there was nothing strange. Instead, it was an extremely normal fireworks display. Wow, it's so beautiful! Lizzie sighed. Ren Xiling also smiled. She had seen a lot of fireworks, but tonight's one seemed pretty good. Hey, it's strange. Didn't I give an order not to touch these fireworks? Which bastard did it? Ma Howd frowned. But no matter how confused Officer Ma was, the fireworks continued to soar into the sky one after another, dyeing the night sky into a colorful glaze. It's fireworks, Zhuge, look. Fireworks. It's so beautiful. The girl pulled Zhuge's arm, pointing out the window excitedly. Wow. There are fireworks at the end. Mom, it's so beautiful. A little head stretched out from Shu Xiaoshu's arms, pointing to the sky happily. In front of them, Cheese, Zhuefeng, Xiao Jiang and Nini all stopped, looking up at the sky. Colorful colors kept changing on their faces. Well, I suddenly feel better, Nini said softly, and then glanced at Cheese secretly. But at this time, Cheese's hand reached over quietly, holding it gently, and suddenly said, "Come again next time." Her heartbeat accelerated slightly. Xiao Jiang looked at these two guys' little movements inconceivably, opening his mouth as if he was scared. But at this time, his head was gently knocked. "You said you're not allowed to knock my head." Xiao Jiang suddenly stared at Zhuefeng angrily. Unexpectedly, Zhuefeng said with a smile, "A fireman who can fly, I saw it." "What?" Xiao Jiang was stunned. Cheese turned back at this time. "Well, I also saw it. A fireman who can fly." "Really?" Xiao Jiang opened his eyes wide. "Where is it? Why didn't you tell me earlier? It doesn't make sense. It's not fair. I've been squatting here for several months, but I still couldn't see it. But you saw it. Tell me." Zhuefeng ran forward, laughing loudly. "Come and chase me. If you can catch me, I'll tell you." As the descendant of the Longevity clan of the Monster clan, Xiao Jiang was smart. He hurriedly looked at Cheese. "Cheese, tell me." Unexpectedly, Cheese held Nini's arm at this time, running forward. "You're chasing me. F***ck, you guys." Xiao Jiang shouted behind, "Wait for me! Wait for me!" Shu Xiaoshu looked at the backs of these children, smiling faintly, and then looked at the fireworks in the sky, saying softly, "Can you see it too? The children have grown up, honey. You're setting off fireworks at a time like this? Is there something wrong with the program crew?" Backstage, Cheng Yiran and the others who had to hide because of the accident opened the curtains. The one who said this was old Mo. But Cheng Yiran suddenly picked up the guitar, saying, I say, should we take the opportunity to go crazy again? Now? Hong Guan was stunned, frowning. It's not good, right? It's already like this. Cheng Yiran laughed, ha ha. With such a good stage, who cares? Let's sing our song. This is our music. With that, Cheng Yiran ran out of the stage quickly. Hong Guan, Little Monster, and Old Mo glanced at each other, and then licked their lips. The meaning was clear. Do it. This is their rock and roll. Everyone, we're back. Cheng Yiran glanced at the strings on her guitar with an expression of enjoyment. Next up is Tide. Boiling desire, the feelings accumulated over the years are awakened. Shouts rise again. Soaring notes, new inspiration, dancing the tide of life. People suddenly stopped complaining about the bad luck of this night, and once again threw themselves into the passionate singing. The sky was hot because of the fireworks, and the people on the ground were fervent because of the singing. Speaking of which, this old one hasn't seen fireworks for quite some years. Chichi Kamaya, of course, she was no longer in the appearance of an old lady. After leaving, she immediately removed the illusion, you know? It's been quite some years for me too. Long Shiruan nodded her head, the magnificent colors reflected in her eyes, but she was subconsciously looking for a certain figure under the night sky. Standing at such a high place, don't you feel lonely? Finger snaps. Every time there was a snap of fingers, a firework would erupt and rush into the sky in an instant. Luochio snapped his fingers again and again, smiling at the same time. The sky was colorful and the ground was also colorful. Footsteps came from behind. It was Miss Servant Girl who had returned to her original appearance. Yu Yi walked to her master, saying softly, Master, I put the police car. But at this time, Luo Qiu gently pressed his hand on Yu Ye's lips, making her stop talking. He said softly, Come, here's a gift for you. With that, the boss waved his hand gently, and all the remaining fireworks exploded at the same time, rushing into the night sky and released again. It was very colorful, just like the meeting of people. When people gathered together, they would always collide with each other, like fireworks, creating all kinds of beautiful and incredible firework. Because she was always with him, he didn't feel lonely anymore. Yin 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 yin. Chapter 535. What? He escaped. How did he escape? That was the roaring voice of Officer Ma. At the same time, Officer Ma even opened his eyes wide, like a door god sticking to the door. I'm sorry, Sir Ma. We don't know what happened, but we suddenly fainted. When we woke up, he was gone. Idiot. 4 people can't even keep an eye on one guy. Idiot. Ma Hao scolded twice, but he knew that it was useless to scold, but he just wanted to scold. Otherwise, he would have nowhere to vent his anger. It was already the latter half of the night, and the audience in the stadium had gradually dispersed. Only a group of police officers and firefighters were left here, doing some simple cleaning work while carefully inspecting the place. Who knew if there were any dangerous things installed here? Sir Ma, did the criminal escape? Lin Feng frowned. Ma Hao also frowned. That guy probably couldn't escape alone. I think he has an accomplice. Speaking of which, it's impossible for one person to make such a big scene in a short time. He must have an accomplice. Lin Feng, go to the police station immediately and make a warrant for this thug to be wanted all over the world. Got it. Lin Feng also knew that the situation was serious, so he didn't say anything and quickly drove away. Ma Hao suddenly said unlucky. What the hell, why are there so many strange things this year? How is it? Lizzie looked at Ren Xiling, but she was chewing the freshly roasted squid tentacles in her mouth. Ren Xiling shrugged. Old Ma said he had something urgent to do, so he couldn't come. Oh, so many things, can we finish it? If I had known, I wouldn't have agreed to send Yu Yi home first, and asked him to come here. It's okay. Sister Ren, I can finish it all by myself. Lizzie's eyes were shining. Renziling looked at Lizzie as if she had seen a ghost. Then, she looked at Lizzie's petite figure. Finally, she reached out her hand and pinched her own belly. What the hell, she could pinch a layer out. I don't care. I'm starving too. Renziling raised his large glass of beer. Cheers. Later, Subeditor Wren was drunk like a puddle of mud and was carried home by Lizzie. For them, the night was over. That night, Cheese's family didn't stay at the pet hospital. Chichikamaya said that it was over and they should go home. Thus, the family of rat demons returned to their home, the same home. After Cheese came back, he didn't stop. He was busy taking care of all the younger brothers and sisters. Finally, he made some food for Shu Xiaoshu and watched his mother fall asleep. As the eldest son of the family, it was the benefit of being the eldest son. In this small basement, a small 2-story, attic-like place was built. This was the place where Cheese slept. There was a small ventilation window here, through which one could see the outside. Tomorrow, let's start again. Cheese sighed softly, lying on the bed. Maybe he was tired, or just wanted to get through the night as soon as possible, so he gradually fell asleep. After a long time, he turned his body and turned his back to the only ventilation window, but at this time, a black shadow suddenly appeared at the ventilation window. The shadow suddenly shrank, or turned into a puddle of liquid, easily entering through the ventilation window, and then took shape again. It was Iron Whistle, the Iron Whistle that finally fixed its own shape. Iron Whistle stood beside Cheese, slightly lowering its head and suddenly opening its mouth. But at the last moment, those sharp teeth were hidden in its mouth. Only a tongue stretched out, gently licking Cheese's cheek. Iron Whistle suddenly stood up, silently looking at this young face. It stretched out its hand to pull Cheese's quilt a little tighter, and then suddenly turned around. It didn't look back, its body turned into liquid and went through the ventilation window. Outside the room, it turned back to its original appearance, gently stretching its wings and flying into the dark night sky. Suddenly, he stretched out his hand to scratch his face, murmuring in his sleep, "It's so itchy, don't do this." Iron Whistle. Maybe it was a good dream. For the rat demon's family, this night seemed to be over. What happened in Flourishing Lotus Gymnasium last night became the hot topic of the whole city the next day. It simply flooded all the major forums and friend circles. Because of the accident, the ranking of last night's program was temporarily cancelled, and the original contestants were scheduled to compete again in the next episode. Although there were discussions about the rankings, most of them were discussing the strength of each singer. People always had an almost instinctive perseverance in this kind of ranking. Although I'm a little moved, but in terms of strength, they are still far behind the other singers. Although feelings can be added, I'm afraid it's not the effect of the program. The more I watch, the more embarrassed I feel. You weren't there. Try it on the spot. I'm crying listening to it. Keyboard warriors and haters, go to hell. But it seemed to be different from last week. This time, those voices of resistance were not drowned out by the overwhelming abuse, but had a tendency to gradually rise. Especially when the most vicious haters of last week took the lead to apologize this time, and praised the band again in various ways. The discussion on the internet was wonderful. But no matter how these entertainment gossip dominated the headlines, for Dr. Long, who had a legal license in the pet hospital, obviously had no interest in it at all. The reason why she browsed these chattering posts at this time was nothing more than to see if anyone had photographed anything strange last night. It seems that all of them have been deleted. Long Shirua held a cup of coffee and lay on her big office chair. With her body shape, she could hardly find any other position except lying down. Now my legs are short. Is it my fault? But the content of a wanted poster finally entered Long Shirua's sight. Long Shirua didn't care about her manners and suddenly stood up, standing on the chair, then lying on the table, and at the same time raising her hips. Don't get me wrong. It's just more convenient. Wanted criminal. Juefeng? Long Shirua stared hard at the picture of the wanted criminal on the wanted poster, a scary guy with a face full of scars. So it was solved like this. Well, this wanted criminal will probably never be found. Long Shirua shook her head, although she didn't want to admit it, but the efficiency of that shop was indeed too fast. Miss Long, suddenly, Boss Luo's voice came. Long Shirua raised her head a little to look over the screen on the table, at the shop owner who suddenly appeared. Luoqiu suddenly said at this time, "Sorry, I should have knocked on the door first, but there were people outside, so I came in directly." Knocked on the door? Long Shirua was stunned, and then she realized something was wrong. Get out! She was actually seen in this state. Chichi Kamaya, who was still recuperating in the pet hospital, heard such a roar, and his face changed slightly. Without thinking, he hurried to Lord Long's office. "Lord Long, what happened?" Chichi Kamaya opened the door and asked directly. But he didn't see anything. Except for Long Shirua, there seemed to be nothing here. But Chichi Kamaya was suddenly shocked. "Lord Long, you. What happened to you?" Long Shirua's face was pale, and she sat weakly on the chair, as if she didn't even have the strength to raise her head, as if all the males in the demon world had visited her. "Good. Chichi Kamaya. Quickly give me." Long Shirua looked like she was physically and mentally injured after being ravaged. "Give me some blood-nourishing medicine." "You took so much." As soon as he finished speaking, the true dragon of the divine land spat out a mouthful of white foam and fainted. Lord Long. Boss Luo calculated that it was nearly 2,000 milliliters. It seemed that a container couldn't contain all of it, but the considerate servant girl had already prepared a special container. Finally, Luo Qiu covered the 2 containers with a piece of black cloth. He smiled and said, "Send 500 milliliters to the warehouse. It may be useful in the future. I'll take the rest for the sacrifice later." "Got it." Yu Yi nodded slightly. After that, Luoqiu looked at the place where he did business, in front of a cabinet. "Taiyinzi, what's the matter?" Taiyinzi was holding a rag in his hand. In fact, Taiyinzi had been wiping the same glass with the rag since just now, and glanced at it secretly from time to time. "Ah, I'm happy for you, master." Taiyinzi hurriedly said, "This is a big business. Congratulations, master." "Really?" Luoqiu smiled slightly, and suddenly looked at the servant girl. "Well, now I'm in the mood. Yu Yi, give me the best that I bought last time. I'll play with it." "Okay." The servant girl nodded with a smile, and then looked at Taiyinzi. "Taiyinzi, where's my key?" Taiyinzi was stunned, and felt a chill on his back. He braced himself and said, "Yu Yi, miss. Such a small matter, let me do it. I'll get it for you right away." After that, without waiting for Yu Ye's reply, Taiyinzi rushed out with lightning speed. Soon, Taiyinzi came out with a black bag stiffly, and then swallowed his saliva, and presented it to the boss. Luoqiu didn't say anything, and directly took out the thing inside. It was indeed a bess. Boss Luo's finger gently swept over it, and suddenly said, "Well, it's strange. Why does this bess seem to be a lot newer? I remember that the paint here was chipped before, right?" "I patched it up," Taiyinzi hurriedly said. "I saw it when I was cleaning last night. This is something that master wants to use. How can there be a flaw? So I patched up the chipped paint on my own initiative." Boss Luo looked at Taiyinzi with a faint smile, which made the old guy break out in cold sweat. "Oh, Taiyinzi, you've been very active recently," the servant girl said with a smile. "Why do I feel that my job is about to be taken away by you?" "I don't dare." Taiyinzi suddenly panicked, and said in fear and trepidation, "How dare I? I just want to share the worries of Master and Miss Yu Yi. Besides, damn it, he couldn't think of anything to say. Besides what?" The servant girl's eyes seemed to be narrowed more closely. Taiyinzi was quick-witted in the emergency and said, "Besides, the only one who can stay by Master's side is you, Miss Yu Yi." This was an extremely bold statement. After that, Taeyinzi's heart thumped, and he looked up in fear. It seemed that she wasn't angry? The servant girl suddenly smiled at this time, and said softly, "Master, do you want to drink tea?" "Ah, thank you." Luochu nodded, and then lowered his head and began to play with the best that he bought. Taeyinzi saw this, and secretly wiped his cold sweat. It seemed that everything was fine. The master didn't see it. No, how could the master not see it? But, according to the master's character, how could he act as if nothing had happened? Damn it! Did I meet a fake boss and Miss Servant Girl? After playing for a while, Luochu suddenly looked at Taeyinzi and said, "Taeyinzi, didn't you say that you have to clean for a living? Why are you still standing?" "I'll be right there." Taeyinzi quickly trotted to the cupboard that was plugged in before. After wiping it twice, he suddenly turned back and said, "Master, there's something that I can't figure out. Can you explain it to me?" "Say it." Luochu stopped. Taeyinzi said carefully, "Master, the guitar that Qing Iran bought, logically speaking, ordinary people can't resist it. But I remember that when Qing Iran played again last night, he could clearly use the magic of the guitar again. But I can't understand why Hong Guan and the others on the stage didn't seem to be affected and could still perform normally." Boss Luo said softly, "Because they all admire each other and think that each other is the best. In that case, there's no difference whether they have this guitar or not." Taeyinzi was deep in thought, but his arm that was holding the rag didn't seem to pay much attention, and some of it touched a plate ornament on the cupboard. Taeyinzi blinked and watched the plate fall to the floor in front of him. Bang! It broke into pieces. Looking at the broken plate, Taeyinzi was stunned. Oh, this plate was used by Louis XIV in the past. Miss Maid, who came out with a tray, looked regretful. "Taeyinzi, how could you break it? This is the only one left." Miss Maid shook her head. "Alas, originally. Forget it, Taeyinzi, you'd better accept the punishment." Looking at the black ropes that suddenly appeared from all around and quickly wrapped around Taeyinzi in a way that he was very familiar with, the rookie of the club suddenly let out a scream. Chapter 536. Mount Tai, in a farmhouse at the foot of a mountain. A fair-skinned young man, who looked to be around 21 or 22 years old, trotted back with his hands covering something. He was smiling like a child playing with mud at the village entrance. "Brother Momo! Brother Momo! Look what I caught!" "Hey, Brother Momo, what are you looking at?" The young man curiously looked at another young man who was sitting on a simple wooden chair and looking at a cell phone screen. The young man had bright blonde hair. He looked like a gangster with a story. Xiao Zhan. Momo looked at the young man who was younger than him by 3 years. Senior Yang Taizi asked him to take care of this guy called Zhan all the way. According to the rules of the cultivation world, Zhan should call him senior brother, apprentice brother. But, in this era, there was no need to pay attention to it. Momo didn't know what to say to Zhan all the way. This guy's temperament was probably not that of a 12 or 13-year-old. He was actually so happy that he was holding a cricket in his hand. "Nothing." Momo smiled. "I'm just checking if there's any new arrest warrant or something like that. Xiao Zhan, we've been living in the mortal world. Although we're used to living in the open, everything depends on fate. But in modern times, some things are necessary, because they can save us a lot of trouble, such as money." "I know about money." Xiao Zhan nodded. "Every time my master goes down the mountain, he will pawn something for money." Momo smiled. "That's one of the ways to earn money." Most of the seniors more or less had some family background. Some of the things they casually picked could even be sold for a high price in society. But that's what the seniors do. For people like us who just go down the mountain, we can only choose other ways. For example, catching those wanted criminals with bounties. Jean had an appearance like he learned something and hurriedly nodded his head and said, "Then did you see anything useful?" Momo said casually, "I saw a lot, but the bounties are too low. I'm not interested in wasting time." But there's a good reward, but it's too far from here, it's not worth it. Then, Momo passed the phone to Jean-Eyre. Wow, what a scary face. Jean-Eyre immediately stuck out his tongue and looked at the picture on the screen. It was an extremely scary man whose face was full of scars. Called. Oh, I see it. Juefeng. The reward is $300,000. But this little Taoist probably didn't know much about 300,000 yuan, so after a few glances, he returned the phone to Momo's hand. He didn't think there was any need for money. When he was hungry, there were many edible fruits on the mountain. There was also game to hunt. When he was thirsty, there was also sweet spring water. He felt that there was no place where he could use money. Right, Brother Momo, how long are we going to stay here? It's been a few days, Jean-Eyre asked as he played with the crickets he caught. Soon, it will be the appointed time soon. Momo said indifferently, this is a big event that happens once every 10 years in the cultivation world, we need to be patient. And waiting is also a kind of cultivation. Jean-Eyre rolled his eyes and thought for a while, but he was puzzled. Is it really so important? Calling Penglai. Speaking of which, what exactly is Penglai? Moreover, hasn't it always failed? Momo shook his head. I'm not sure, but I know it's a rule that happens once every 10 years in the cultivation world. To be honest, it's my first time participating in it. As for Penglai, I heard from my master that it seems to be related to the immortal path to heaven. He said it's a land of immortals that can fulfill all our wishes. All my wishes? Jean-Eyre was interested in this, his eyes brightening up. Really? Momo smiled and said, that's true, but for countless years I've never heard of any success. Perhaps it's just an illusory legend. Look at you, do you have a wish that you want to fulfill? Jean-Eyre nodded seriously. Momo asked curiously, what's your wish? Jean-Eyre said more seriously, I want a PSP. Master doesn't buy it for me. Momo gave a start, not knowing what he was thinking, but he remained silent. Jean-Eyre asked again, Brother Momo, what's your wish? Mine? Momo suddenly looked out of the window, saying after a while, my wish, what's it? Brother Momo? Momo heaved a sigh, shaking his head. Nothing. I'm going to do my homework and meditate. Little Jean, you go out and play. Jean-Eyre was a bit disappointed, but he didn't insist, only laughing. Then I'll go dig some sweet potatoes and roast them for you. I'm so hungry after meditating. Momo watched the figure running out of the door excitedly. A PSP. What kind of wish is this? Can it be counted as a wish? Momo slowly closed his eyes, starting to meditate. Penglai. Penglai, does it really exist? It was still Mount Tai, but on the other side of Mount Tai. At the highest point of the verdant mountain, there was a beautiful figure gazing into the distance, gazing at the place that had been called the pilgrimage platform since ancient times. She was as cold as ice, her eyes as flat as a mirror. No one knew what she was thinking. Suddenly, a small squirrel came to her feet. Squirrel didn't understand when he arrived. He stood on his tiptoes and looked up at the figure that was extremely massive to him. At this moment she smiled slightly, but it was just a smile. Are you also here to enjoy the scenery? The squirrel naturally couldn't answer her. She looked into the distance again, muttering to herself, last time, Huanzhenju was a kid, so he couldn't come. This time, I don't know what it will be like. Penglai may be just a legend. In the past 500 years, she didn't always participate in this tradition of Taoism. She would only come here secretly after she finished practicing the special martial arts and didn't find a suitable time. She shouldn't have come this time, if she didn't wake up too soon. Even when the sun was setting in the west, she still did not move. Only when the red light finally landed on the mountain did a touch of sadness suddenly appear on her face. She said softly, Master, how many times will Sanyang return to the origin before she can see you again? Come on, this is Master Huang. Ren Xiling was trying hard to introduce a strange guy in front of Luoqiu. He was wearing a tang suit and a pair of sunglasses. His hair was white and his beard was white. He sat very still, and seemed to be a person who did not like to smile. He was about 50 years old. Luocio finally found a serious problem. That was, if he didn't use any of his abilities as a boss, it would be really difficult for him to understand what the strange circuit in Renziling's brain was thinking. In any case, he had to ask Yu Yi to come out for a meal. Or I won't wash socks for 3 days. No, I won't wash underwear for a week. I'll throw it in the living room. I'll throw it in front of your door. I'll eat durian in your room. Then master, Yu Yi should choose a suitable set of clothes. Fortunately, Miss Maid was always so considerate. She helped her master solve his problems without any complaint. Therefore, the scene that had just happened. In a booth near the window of a spicy crayfish restaurant, there was a table that was filled with people. But this time, Renziling didn't bring Lizzie. After the introduction, Renziling suddenly pulled Luocio aside, leaving Miss Maid and Master Huang sitting face to face. Master Huang still didn't say anything. It seemed that he was not attracted by the beauty of Miss Maid at all. So, who is this Master Huang? Luocio frowned. Sub-editor Ren started to act like an auntie and said seriously, "This Master Huang, I asked many people to invite him. Let me tell you, this Master Huang is very good at fortune-telling. Especially the 8 characters of marriage. Every one of them is accurate. Although we believe in science, it's passed down from our ancestors. It's okay to listen to it. Why don't you and Yu Yi do the fortune-telling together?" Boss Luo slightly opened his mouth. Chapter 537. Master Huang. Let's call him Old Huang for short. Old Huang was quite a character. According to his introduction, it was said that he was sent to Wudong Mountain by his parents due to his poor family. He worked as a Taoist priest for more than 20 years. Later on, he returned to the secular world. After returning to the secular world, Old Huang started to read the fortune of the rich people. Speaking of which, it was quite accurate. There were quite a few people who could solve problems by looking at faces, and they had resolved many so-called calamities. It was also said that there was a businessman who was on the verge of bankruptcy. He was desperate and wanted to give it a try, so he found Master Huang. Later on, Old Huang set up a wealth-gathering array in the bankrupt businessman's home. Not long after, the businessman encountered a financial crisis, but the businessman didn't make things worse. Instead, because of his crazy hedging, he turned over a new leaf and his assets increased several times. As for this so-called prophecy about marriage being particularly efficacious, who the hell knew how it came about? But Renziling thought that this master was really accurate. You have to read it even if you don't want to. Just read it and it'll be fine. How can you know if you two are suitable for each other in such a long time? If your fate is really not suitable, you should find a way to solve it as soon as possible. Yu Yi is my daughter-in-law. Ahaha, Master Huang, sorry to keep you waiting for so long. Renziling pulled Boss Luo back to his seat and apologized. My son has been impolite since childhood. Please don't mind him. It doesn't matter. Young people are always impetuous. It's normal for their temperament to be unstable. Master Huang said slowly, "It'll be fine when they get older. Now it's the time for them to be motivated. It's better to be energetic." Yes, Master Huang is right. You're absolutely right. Sub-editor Ren was still in her anti-mode. She hurriedly said, "By the way, Master, I've given you the child's birthday before. Is there any result?" Master Huang nodded slightly, but suddenly said, "Miss Ren, it seems that you haven't given me the girl's horoscope." Renziling smiled awkwardly. "That's what I want. I wanted to ask Luocio about Yu Ye's birth date. But, with this guy's intuition, as long as she asked, how could he not guess what she wanted to do? It would be strange if he gave it to her." However, Auntie Ren was still an extremely thick-skinned and terrifying existence. At this moment, she chuckled and said, "Master Huang, I heard that you are also good at reading faces and palms. Actually, I'm also skeptical. Master, please don't blame me, because I'm definitely a little skeptical. Master Huang said calmly, don't worry. Feng Shui metaphysics had always been a little vague, so it was normal for ordinary people to doubt it. Many of my previous customers were like young Miss Rin, so I'm not surprised. Although he didn't have a horoscope, he didn't look much different from the Prime Minister. Then, I won't look at this little brother's horoscope. I'll just look at his face and palm. Thank you, Master. Auntie Rin suddenly narrowed her eyes and smiled. Luochio, stretch out your hand first. Yu Yi, wait a moment, it's your turn. Miss May just smiled and nodded. She was still as calm as ever. This gave Auntie Rin a kind of illusion in life, that was, this little girl obviously didn't dislike it at all. Although she didn't say it beforehand, she was still so amiable. Regardless of whether she was laughing because she didn't want to be rude, or she just wanted to look at the horoscope. This kind of daughter-in-law is really, really good. That's great, isn't it? But Boss Luo seemed to be a person who didn't hear it at this moment. He was already facing the window, looking at the early autumn leaves outside, but Boss Luo's hand had been fiercely pulled out by Auntie Rin. Auntie Rin, who used all her strength, finally succeeded in slamming Luochio's hand heavily on the table. Her eyes lit up and said, Master, please enjoy. No, please look. Luochio looked at Auntie Ren's fanatical look at this time, sighed softly, and simply ignored it. He just put his hand like this without saying anything, and continued to look at an old tree with yellow leaves outside. This was a banyan tree. I don't know how old it was. The branches were complicated, and it even extended to the road and went up to the 3rd floor here, right? The huge canopy formed a huge shade. It would probably be very cool during the summer solstice, as long as one stayed under it. An old man was sitting under the tree at this time with a child in his arms. They seemed to be talking about something. They pointed to the branches on the tree, probably talking about the things on the branches. There were many yellow ribbons on the branches, and one end of the ribbons was tied with a treasure certificate. Strand by strand, it swayed gently with the wind. This was a relatively common way of praying in the neighborhood. The treasure certificate was tied with a ribbon and then hung on the tree. How many wishes were successfully thrown on the tree by those strands of ribbon? Young man, it seems that you don't seem to have confidence in me. But Master Huang's voice suddenly sounded at this time, and interrupted Boss Luo's gaze. So Luochio slightly turned his head and looked at Master Huang, suddenly said, Should I have confidence? Your absent-minded attitude explained everything, okay? But I'm also a person with a lot of experience, it's easy to deal with a hothead like you. Master Huang also said calmly, Young man, in today's society, many things passed down by our ancestors can be eliminated. The country also advocates that we should believe in science. But have you thought about it? Why can some things be passed down? Boss Luo thought for a while, suddenly smiled and said, Master, please have a look. The sudden change in attitude made Master Huang swallow the words he wanted to say. But Master Huang's mind was very clear. He had helped a lot of rich kids with fortune-telling, but they were all dragged by their female elders with an impatient look. The way these rich kids looked at fortune-telling was nothing more than the same thing. No matter what he said, they would just vehemently deny it. Master Huang didn't blame those who were dragged to see the show because they would deny it no matter what they said, because most of the people they met were just swindlers. But he was different. He really had some skills. He once met a big lucky chance on Wudong Mountain. Master Huang secretly recalled that the woman surnamed Ren had already given him the boy's 8 characters. Master Huang quickly recalled the results of the boy's 8 characters that he had tested in advance. He said calmly, You don't have a good life. Before Luochio and Ren Xiling had any reaction, Master Huang said, Your fate is too hard. It's not good for your parents if it's too hard. That's why I said your parents died early. Luochio didn't respond. But Auntie Ren, Ren Xiling frowned. She absolutely didn't want Luochio to recall those painful memories. She said calmly, Master Huang, if you want to check these things, you can find them, right? Master Huang said indifferently, Don't worry, it's just the beginning. Well, it's too easy to talk about the past. Let's talk about the recent and the future. Let's talk about fleeting time. As he spoke, Master Huang took off his black sunglasses, revealing his two eyes, one black and one white. Master, your eyes. Ren Xiling was slightly surprised. Master Huang, on the other hand, pressed down on the normal side of his eye. He opened his white eye and said indifferently, This is not a cataract. I'm just born different from others. This eye can let me see a lot of things you don't know. Young man, I want to read your palm. Open your palm. Boss Luo followed her advice and spread out his palms. Miss Maid looked at Master Huang's white eyes with interest and thought, It seems that physiognomy is a very common practice in the East. But no matter whether he has the ability or not, in this world, there is no one who can predict the future of their master. But it was the first time for Miss Maid to see this kind of thing, so she was a little curious. She didn't know what Master Huang could see. Master Huang slightly lowered his head and stared at Luochio's palm very seriously. After a while, he said, Well, it's the first time I've seen this kind of palm in my life. But it can't be wrong. It can't be wrong. You're a jinx. You're a jinx. You'll live a miserable life. Chapter 538. Master Huang's expression kept changing. Ren Xiling, who felt like she was listening to a book from heaven, couldn't help but ask, Master? Did you see it clearly? What do you mean by lonely star and emperor's fate? What the hell? If you want to say that I'm the emperor's fate, I'll accept it. But I'm not going to pay for that. Wait a moment. Master Huang shook his head. He took a deep breath and took out a very delicate small box from his clothes. Ren Xiling thought there would be something valuable in it, but she was surprised to find that it was just a bottle of eye drop. Master Huang took out some eye drops and put some into his eyeballs without caring about anything else. He blinked his eyes hard and rubbed them a few times. Then, he covered one of his eyes and looked at Boss Luo again. This time he still looked at his face. His hair is drooping, his forehead is low and narrow. His appearance is poor and unaccomplished. Master Huang murmured to himself, but then he frowned. No, the eyebrows are tall and beautiful, without any wrinkles, slender and majestic. No, no, no. No, no. A mortal's face is all-inclusive. No, no. How could it be? Master Huang rubbed his eyes again. The more he looked at Luochio, the deeper his frown became. He kept saying things that others couldn't understand. Sometimes he talked about being born rich, sometimes he talked about being lucky for a few decades, and sometimes he talked about being miserable. Ren Xiling became more and more doubtful as she listened. Was this old thing really capable? Maybe he was a fraud. I know. Why is your face so weird? Master Huang suddenly said in a low voice. You? Ren Xiling suddenly became nervous. She took a cup of tea to calm herself down. As for Luochio, he was calm as usual. Mississippi Maid also looked at Master Huang. You? Master Huang took a deep breath and said, I've never seen such a weird face. The only explanation is, you have plastic surgery. Puff. When Auntie Ren heard this, she couldn't help but choke. Fortunately, she didn't spit out a mouthful of water, but she still coughed a few times in pain. At the same time, she pointed her finger at Master Huang. But she thought she should have spat the water on this old guy's face. Cough, cough, cough. I finally figured it out. Ren Xiling swallowed her saliva and scolded. You are AF * king old faker. I'm telling you, if this guy has plastic surgery, I'll write my name upside down. No plastic surgery? Old Huang was stunned and opened his mouth subconsciously. But Ren Xiling hated this kind of swindler. If she hadn't heard from a rich businessman that she had interviewed before, she wouldn't have brought Luochio here today. I don't want to talk to you. Ren Xiling snorted and slapped a bill on the table. Then she pulled Luochio with one hand and Yu Yi with the other. Let's go. Don't listen to this old fraud's nonsense. Oh my God! Have I been bewitched by a curse? How can I believe this kind of thing? No, no. I'll write a column about this old fraud when I go back. Oh my God! But Master Huang watched as Ren Xiling dragged the man away. He didn't move, but his frown deepened. He muttered to himself, no. How could it be possible? No plastic surgery, no plastic surgery. Old Huang quickly took out a piece of red paper from his pocket. It was the young man's 8 characters that he got from Ren Xiling. Looking at the 8 characters, Old Huang pinched his fingers and began to calculate. His fingers pinched faster and faster and his expression became more and more strange. Soon, he was sweating profusely. However, he was still pinching his own fingers as if he had gone mad. Suddenly, Old Huang opened his eyes wide and said inconceivably, "This life should have died long ago?" Saying this, Old Huang spat out a mouthful of blood and fell on the table in a coma. Ah! Subeditor Ren looked up at the sky and turned on her loser mode. She couldn't straighten her back and said with a heavy blow, "How could I believe this kind of thing? How could I believe this kind of thing?" Luochio looked at Ren Xiling and said indifferently, "Since you don't want to eat, I'm leaving. You probably snuck out. Go back to work." Ren Xiling smiled embarrassedly. Nothing could be hidden from him. She suddenly said, "Oh, where are you going? Are you going for a date? If you don't have anything to do, I have a good place to go." "You?" Luochio frowned and had a bad premonition in his heart. "What else do you plan?" "Ahahaha, nothing." Ren Xiling laughed. "In fact, it's nothing. Just a few days ago, a shop gave me a set of experience tickets. It's about to expire, so I don't want to waste it." "Miss Ren, what kind of experience ticket is it?" Yu Yi asked with a smile. "Of course girls like it." Ren Xiling took out a ticket at this time. She looked like a Mrs. Huang who was selling melons. "Dang dang? Experience ticket of a wedding dress shop." Boss Luo frowned and suddenly said, "The wedding dress shop you mentioned, is it this one?" Luochio stretched out his finger and pointed at a wedding dress shop across the road. Ren Xiling looked at the address on the paper with surprise and said exaggeratedly, "Hey! It's true. What a coincidence. I don't know. Ahahaha, it's so close. Come on. You're destined to go there, come on." Without waiting for their response, Subeditor Ren grabbed one of them and dashed across the road horizontally. "Boss Luo. Luochio, I'll try my best to cooperate with you." A couple intimately walked under a banyan tree with many treasures hanging on it. The girl suddenly said, "Look, those people are funny." The man looked over. A woman dragged another woman and a man and rushed into the wedding dress shop across the road. "What's so funny about that?" The man shook his head and subconsciously looked up at the banyan tree above his head. The people nearby didn't call it a banyan tree, but called it the wishing tree. "Sujiai, I want to be with you forever." The man subconsciously remembered the words from a long time ago. At that time, he was 17 and she was also 17. They had been here before. For her, he threw out a treasure note on the tree with all his might. The two of them had agreed to graduate together, enter the same university together, and plan for a future that could make people look forward to. "Xue Xiao, what are you thinking about? Did you hear me?" The girl shook her boyfriend, tilting her head and puffing out her mouth. She seemed to be a bit angry. The man. Xue Xiao collected himself. "Ah, what did you say?" "Sorry, I was thinking about something." "What are you thinking about?" the girl asked. Xue Xiao smiled, touching the girl's head. "I was thinking, when should we make a wish here? I heard it's efficacious." The girl shook her head. "No. People say it's a break-up tree. Couples who come here to make a wish don't have a good ending." "Then forget it." Xue Xiao smiled. "Oh, what did you say?" The girl said. "I said, let's go and see how the wedding dress is today. We have a lot of things to arrange, such as the banquet and the invitations. We won't have time later. As you wish. Xue Xiao smiled. The girl was nice, really nice. Everything was nice. Xue Xiao nodded, holding the girl's hand and protecting her. They walked slowly across the road and entered the wedding dress shop across the road. He thought he shouldn't remember this wishing tree anymore. He shouldn't remember the treasures. He shouldn't miss the pure white girl in his memory. Chapter 539. Sir, here's your water. The clerk brought a glass of water to Luoqiu, then left politely and went back to the front desk. Then, she and her colleagues secretly looked at this young man who was looking through the album silently. It was an album of samples provided by the guests who had taken wedding photos here in the past. He doesn't look that old. I wonder if he's of legal age? The two people who came in with him were rare to see, especially the blonde one. Was he a mixed blood? This young man didn't look very handsome, but why couldn't they move their eyes away from him? Was he the type that was easy to look at? And the type that looked better the more they looked at him? The shop assistant's topic of conversation was always related to gossip. But at this moment the electronic bell rang, and they looked towards the door at the same time. One of the clerks greeted them with a smile. Mr. Xue, Miss Wan, why are you here? Xue Xiao smiled. Well, we want to look at the wedding dress again. Then, he looked at the girl beside him. She is always worried. The clerk smiled. Of course. After all, it's a big thing in life. It's good to be cautious. Miss Wan, would you like to come with me first? I remember that the wedding dress you ordered has just been modified. I planned to inform you to come in a few days, but you came unexpectedly. The girl's surname was Wan Zishan. Wan Zishan looked at Xue Xiao and said, Wait here for a while, take a seat first. Xue Xiao agreed and watched Wan Zishan follow the clerk into the dressing room. Then, he looked around the wedding dress shop casually. In fact, for men, there was nothing to look at here. He simply sat down. At this time, a young man was already sitting next to the sofa. This young man was much younger than him and was looking through the album. Seeing his arrival, the young man raised his head and nodded slightly without saying anything else. Xue Xiao felt bored. Waiting for a woman to try on the dress was a test of patience. Maybe chatting with him could kill time. Xue Xiao knew how to find a topic to talk about since he was a businessman. So he sat down and smiled. Are you also waiting for someone to change? Girlfriend? Fiancé? Luoqiu raised his head again. It seemed that in this male-unfriendly place, it was normal for men to strike up a conversation with each other. Yes, they should be together forever. Luoqiu gave the answer that was closest to the current situation. Should. Xue Xiao was stunned. After a while, he smiled and said, That's right. No one can predict the future. There are too many variables. However, you can't let the person inside who is carefully dressing you hear this. She will be sad. Luoqiu nodded slightly. Are you getting married soon? In Xue Xiao's eyes, this was something to be happy about, so he smiled happily. Yes, soon. It will happen this month. Congratulations. Boss Luo was not stingy with giving his blessings to the newlyweds. To be able to meet someone who can walk down the aisle in this vast sea of people is something to be happy about. These words, Xue Xiao had heard a lot, but most of them were from the chicken soup stories and public accounts. But somehow, he had a very special feeling when this young man said these words. Xue Xiao lowered his head with his fingers slightly closed. His expression was a bit complicated. He didn't know why, but he couldn't help sighing. Actually, we just met at the right time. We both think it's the right time. You don't like her? Luoqiu asked softly. Xue Xiao shook his head subconsciously. No, she is the most gentle girl I have met. She can tolerate me. I won't dislike her. But... Xue Xiao raised his head. The young man in front of him gave him an impulse to tell him something. He looked at this young man, but he didn't even know his name and identity. He looked at him as if he was looking at a mirror, But, have you ever had that kind of experience with someone whom you still can't forget? I'm talking about the feeling of being in love, not family or friends. Yes. I don't have that kind of experience, but, Boss Luo said while thinking, I met a customer who also couldn't forget a woman for a long time. Customer? Xue Xiao gave a start, then nodded. Are you a businessman? Yes, some business like buying and selling. Xue Xiao didn't ask more about his profession, but said, What happened to that customer? Boss Luo said indifferently. Then, he went home and didn't think about it anymore. Because he knew that the woman had never loved him. I see. Xue Xiao lowered his head, not knowing what he was thinking. He turned his eyes subconsciously, looking outside through the glass window of the wedding dress shop. He looked at the old banyan tree which was covered with ribbons and treasures. The wishing tree. Is there your wish on it? Suddenly, the young man's voice came. Xue Xiao came back to himself, looking at him with a hint of understanding. Luo Qiu smiled and said, There are many wishes in that tree. I saw that you were engrossed in it, so I asked you about it. Of course, you don't have to answer. It's nothing. Xue Xiao shook his head. It was when I was young. I would do some strange things when I was young. I didn't think about tomorrow, only today. Maybe I thought about tomorrow but didn't know that I couldn't deal with tomorrow. Someone you couldn't forget? Boss Luo asked. Xue Xiao thought for a while, then glanced at the dressing room, slightly sighing. Yes, there was a girl. We went to school together and finished school together. We promised to be together for a lifetime. Xue Xiao shook his head. But it was beautiful at that time. It couldn't be more beautiful. Broke up? Xue Xiao pursed his lips, nodding. We promised to go to the same university. However, after the college entrance examination, she was sent to Italy to study by her family. That was all that was said. A lot can change in a few years. Didn't you contact her again? Xue Xiao said subconsciously, No. I just heard from an old classmate that she was engaged in geological exploration. She ran around the world and it was difficult to find her, something like that. Xue Xiao didn't know why he said so much to this stranger. Perhaps it was because the other party was just a stranger. We were used to speaking our hearts to those who were complete strangers and did not know us. For example, the tree hole, the sea, or the fantasy under the neon lights when you were drunk. Am I a scumbag? Xue Xiao smiled bitterly, mocking himself. I'm going to get married soon, but there are still some things in my heart that I can't get rid of. I'm a scumbag. Luoqiu didn't answer, but said suddenly, This tree seems to be disappearing. Xue Xiao gave a start. Luoqiu signaled him with his eyes. Xue Xiao looked back and saw a municipal sanitation truck coming from the opposite side of the road. Some uniformed people came down and then surrounded the banyan tree with a cordon. Xue Xiao knew what it meant. He murmured, It's too big, reaching out of the road and into other people's homes. But, is it going to be cut down? It hasn't started yet. Luoqiu said casually, It's just preparation work. Maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Xue Xiao kept silent. Suddenly, a clerk came to Xue Xiao. Mr. Xue, your clothes are ready. Do you want to try it now? Xue Xiao nodded, lowering his head and leaving with the clerk. No one knew what he was thinking about. Until the municipal car left, Boss Luo withdrew his gaze from the window. At the same time, a pair of hands covered his eyes at this time. There was only one person in the world who would do this. Boy. Turn your head slowly. Yes, it's like this. Turn your head slowly. Good boy, don't be scared to death. Don't open your mouth and say nothing. Don't drool. With this, Ren Xiling opened his hands little by little. At the end of the white tiles, there was a figure with his head slightly lowered, holding a bouquet of blue flowers in his hands. The retro hollowed-out lace skirt spread out like lotus leaves, dragging a long pure white texture on the ground like floating clouds in the wind, layer by layer. It was like a fishtail, elegant and moving. It was called a fishtail wedding dress. The servant girl who was wearing it had a faint smile under her lowered head. When she raised her head gently, the deep blue in her eyes seemed to soften a lot. She was like a white and flawless jade bottle. Chapter 540. Upstairs in the club, in the servant girl's room, Luochu knew that Yi had a huge wardrobe. There were all kinds of clothes inside. Of course, the servant girl wore most of the clothes that represented her job, the maid uniform. But as for the wedding dress, it seemed that she didn't have one. Do I look good? Yi picked up the heavy but actually quite light tail of the dress, and gently turned in front of Luochu. This moment of beauty seemed to be enough for the boss to remember forever. Luochu suddenly had some strange thoughts in his mind, but the more he calmed down, the more the sudden thoughts faded away. He returned to his usual calmness and smiled. So beautiful. He and she just looked at each other, and there seemed to be nothing else in their eyes. Although Madame Ren was very satisfied with the affectionate between these two guys, Boss Luo's unexpected calmness made her feel frustrated. So the little drama in Madame Ren's mind started again. Is it really like what Li Zi said, that these two guys are sexually apathetic? The drama in her mind suddenly became rich. On a romantic night, with candlelight and petals, on the soft velvet bed, Luochu and Yi, who had just received the blessings of their relatives and friends, officially became a legal couple. But these two guys didn't take off their clothes. They just held hands and quietly lay on the bed, feeling each other's heartbeat between the rose petals. Plato, it's very beautiful, but how to make a human? Ren Xiling suddenly shivered and blurted out, No, no. I will never let this happen. What happened? Luochu asked curiously. Ren Xiling laughed, but pushed Luochu and said, Nothing. Let's not talk about this first. You go and change your clothes. This experience ticket also has a free wedding photo shoot. Don't waste it. Looks like I need to get my hands on Lizi's ancestral fertility medicine as soon as possible. Thus, Boss Luo was forced to put on a suit and went to the studio on the second floor of the wedding dress shop. He began his painful life of being fiddled with for more than an hour. Sir, smile. That's right. Get closer to the bride. I can get closer, or maybe I should just hug her waist. Okay, next position. Why don't we take a more intimate photo? The groom can kiss the bride on the cheek. Upon hearing this request, Boss Luo was momentarily stunned. He subconsciously looked at Miss Maid. He could more and more sense her thoughts from those deep blue eyes. His deep blue eyes shook slightly, but it was not anticipation. Instead, there was a trace of fear, as if he had been frightened. Ren Xiling, who was standing next to the photographer, widened her eyes at this time, as if she had been injected with chicken blood and drunk 3 bottles of Dolly. She almost snorted suspicious visible gas from her nose. She was probably looking forward to it very much, and even wanted to give the photographer a chicken leg. Or she had already given a thumbs up in her heart. Photographer, nice. Master, at this time, the boss heard Miss Maid's voice. Of course, it was just a communication in the heart. The almighty Miss Maid seemed to be at a loss for this situation, so the voice in the heart seemed to be so hesitant. It seemed that if he didn't satisfy her a little today, it would probably be endless. Luochu suddenly sighed, then reached out and slightly lifted Yuye's veil. Master? Don't be afraid, just close your eyes. Yuyi nodded, letting the deep blue eyes hide under the white eyelids. Luochu smiled slightly, reaching out and brushing away the hair on Yuye's forehead, kissing it. Here was a light kiss. The flash also flashed at this moment. Downstairs of the wedding dress shop, Wan Zishan and Xue Xiao had already finished trying on their clothes. Wan Zishan was talking to the shop assistant about the details of her wedding dress, while Xue Xiao was looking around the lobby of the wedding dress shop. Did that young man leave? Yes, at the end, there's still the sleeves. Just make it a little smaller. That's all. Okay, Miss Wan, we'll keep your request in mind. Wan Zishan hugged Xue Xiao's arm. She was probably very satisfied with the dress, because the smile on her face didn't disappear. So happy. Xue Xiao pinched Wan Zishan's nose lovingly. Speaking of which, when you went in, I saw a super beautiful woman. Wan Zishan exclaimed. She was so beautiful. If I didn't see her, I wouldn't believe that there could be such a perfect woman. Xue Xiao joked. Really? Is it a pity that I didn't see her? Wan Zishan stuck out her tongue. So what if you saw her? People say that the bride is the most beautiful, but that's someone else's bride. So, tell me, I'm the most beautiful one in your eyes. Can you be more shameless? Xue Xiao shook his head and sighed. Tell me. I'm the most beautiful one. Wan Zishan pretended to hit him. It was just a small quarrel between lovers. She knew it, so did he. He was even willing to cooperate with her. They quarreled for a while in front of the shop. Xue Xiao glanced at the road and said, Wait for me here, I'll go over there to have a look. Saying this, Xue Xiao walked to the opposite side of the road. The municipal car hadn't left yet. Some employees were drinking water and chatting by the tree. It seemed that they were taking a rest. Excuse me, is this wishing tree going to be cut down? Xue Xiao asked the workers sitting here. One of the uncles nodded and said, Yes. It couldn't be helped. It had grown too big. The resident upstairs had complained. Besides, it's raining heavily this year. Who knows if it will be blown by the wind? It'll be troublesome if it blocks the road. Xue Xiao frowned, raising his head to look at the shade of the tree that almost covered his sight. It blocked people's view of the blue sky and white clouds, but at the same time, it brought a grand shade. Xue Xiao said, Can't you trim it? It'll be fine if you cut off the longer ones. The uncle shook his head. Young man, this tree has been here since I was a kid. To be honest, I don't want to cut it down. But there's no other way. You see, there are many green trees around, except here. The planners said that it's not nice and easy to manage. And they said that the tree is sick and can't be saved. We'll just do what the management says. Are you going to cut it down later? Xue Xiao looked at the uncle. Oh, it's just fencing today. The uncle said, The tree is too big and the tools on the car are not enough. Tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, I'm not sure. We'll follow the arrangement. Thank you, uncle. Xue Xiao nodded, thanking him. He walked in front of the tree trunk and reached out to touch it, carefully stroking it. Then, he raised his head and looked at the branches above his head again, at a certain branch. What's wrong? Wan Zishan heard the conversation between Xue Xiao and the uncle. Seeing her fiancé's absent-minded appearance, she couldn't help asking, You don't want to cut the tree down? Xue Xiao sighed, telling her something about him and the tree. It's been here since I was a kid. At that time, I often climbed up the tree. I was naughty and often took down the treasures that people threw to me and threw them on the ground. You're so naughty. Wan Zishan laughed. Xue Xiao recalled, Once I fell from the tree. That's the place. Wan Zishan looked at the height and was scared. Then what happened to you? Xue Xiao smiled. Maybe I was lucky. When I fell, a branch broke and caught my clothes. Then, I jumped down casually. I was fine, but my mom was scared to death. She kept saying it was God's blessing. Xue Xiao shook his head and sighed. But I heard it was going to be cut down, so I was a bit disappointed. Wan Zishan held Xue Xiao's hand. Yes. With so many memories, it would be a pity to cut them off just like that. Pity. Xue Xiao murmured, Pity. Xue Xiao? Nothing. Xue Xiao took a deep breath. I'm just thinking about life. Are you hungry? Let's find a place to eat? The girl nodded and held Xue Xiao's arm. She started to compare where to eat. Xue Xiao glanced at the wishing tree. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew over, swaying the leaves and blowing away the yellow ones. It blew away his thoughts and the promise he had made here. It's too high. Don't climb. You'll fall. It's okay. I often climb this tree. Can't you just throw it from here? I want to hang my wish at the highest place. Then, I can be with you forever. I made it. Look. Su Jiai, I want to be with you forever. Idiot. Chapter 541. It would rain in this city, especially in the second half of the year. It seemed that people were used to it. When the sun was shining in the afternoon, a strong wind came in the evening. It started to rain heavily before 7 o'clock in the evening. But the rain came and went quickly. It became a drizzle at about 8 o'clock in the evening. There was no break in the drizzle. A chill woke Xue Xiao up from his desk. Before this, he had to go back to the company in the afternoon because he had taken half a day off to accompany Wan Zishan. He had to work overtime to finish the work at hand. He was busy until 6 o'clock. He planned to take a rest because he was too tired, but he fell asleep unconsciously. But Xue Xiao had a dream from a long time ago. It was his birthday, but the girl in his memory didn't move for a whole day. Just when he thought that she didn't know and felt disappointed, the girl gently stood on her tiptoes and kissed him on the cheek as they parted on their way home. The girl said, "This is not a birthday present, but this is." Then the girl took out a necklace and put it on his neck. She said it was given to her by her mother and asked him to wear it all the time. The dream stopped because he woke up. Xue Xiao sat alone in the office with only a laptop screen lit up. He turned the chair and looked at the drizzle outside. He touched his chest subconsciously. There was always a necklace here that he never left. The necklace wasn't expensive, it was just a simple pendant with a string. As for the pendant, it was a brown crescent. Xue Xiao looked at the rain. It seemed that the rain could always lift a trace of melancholy. He couldn't help asking himself if every man would be like him before marriage. They would always think of their past love uncontrollably, especially when it was his first love that had died without a cause. Maybe not only men, but also women. They would always feel something uncontrollably. Even if they didn't want to, they couldn't resist the sudden sweetness and bitterness. In fact, as time passed, Xue Xiao thought that he had forgotten about it or buried it deep in his memory. He would only open it when he was mature, qualified, and able to smile. That was his plan, because he couldn't deny that he was so sincere to his current fiancée. Maybe it's because I'm about to enter another state before marriage. Xue Xiao heaved a sigh, but Xue Xiao grasped the small crescent on his body through his clothes. But, because he was about to enter the next stage, he didn't want to carry these thoughts with him. Stop running away. Let's settle this once and for all. Xue Xiao suddenly picked up the phone and waited for a while. Hello, class monitor, it's me, Xue Xiao. Xue Xiao, what happened? Why are you looking for me at this time? Nothing. I'm about to get married. Xue Xiao said, I'm writing the invitations, but I can't contact some people. By the way, do you have Su Jiai's contact information? There are so many people in the class, but I can't find her. Su Jiai. I haven't heard this name for a long time. The class monitor suddenly laughed. I remember you had a crush on her when you were in school. What's wrong? Or is it because you can't forget about it and want to meet your old lover before marriage, so that you can have some friendly sex? Class monitor, don't joke. Xue Xiao hurriedly said, I'm going to write the invitations. Well, even if I don't want to, at least let me know. Okay, I won't laugh at you. Everyone knows what kind of person you are. You're an extinct man. Last time we went to the karaoke room to play, each of us had a girl. But you sang outside for a whole night and made me sleep with 2 girls. How could you do that? How did you bear with it? I even doubt whether you're impotent. Class monitor. Okay, I won't say it. The class monitor paused, but I don't have Su Jiai's contact information. During the reunion, I don't know who said that she flew all over the world and almost couldn't be found. I don't think I can help you. Well, forget it, there's no other way. Xue Xiao said, Class monitor, remember to receive the invitations and come on time. If you don't come, don't contact me for the rest of your life. F***CK. I'll crawl there, okay? Okay, I'm going home after work. Xue Xiao hung up the phone, revealing a bitter smile. When he left the company, Xue Xiao called Wan Zishan to tell her that he was safe. But he didn't go home immediately because of some restlessness. Instead, he went to the downstairs of the woman's house in his memory. He raised his head and looked at the 6th floor, the room near the road. His family lived nearby at that time. Just like what the class monitor said, he had a crush on that girl before they started. He couldn't forget the face he saw in front of the school gate on the day of the freshman's admission. He couldn't forget the faint smile on her face. He couldn't forget the scene when her hair was blown up by the wind. When he passed by here, he always looked at the window silently, hoping that the girl would stick her head out. But now the old house was dark, the iron on the balcony was rusty, and there were no curtains on the window. It was just an empty house. Sure enough, he couldn't open the box casually. Standing in this place where he had waited for so many dusks, he couldn't open the box buried in his heart casually. Sujai, you left. You went abroad without a word. You didn't even give me a way to contact you. Xue Xiao stretched out his hand under the umbrella, letting the drizzle fall on his palm, murmuring, "You didn't even say a word to me." He took a deep breath, turning around and leaving. He turned around and walked to the place where his car was parked. It was not long, only about 100 meters away. Xue Xiao smiled bitterly. Maybe he shouldn't ask about the wishing tree today. Was it because he heard that it was going to be cut down, so he became abnormal? He held the umbrella and walked silently. There were 2 quaint foreign lamps at the corner of the street. Is there such a shop here? Xue Xiao frowned slightly, looking at the dim shop in front of the door subconsciously. He didn't notice that the surrounding streets were different from before. He even ignored the unusual silence in this place. He walked to the door of the shop subconsciously, as if something attracted him. Xue Xiao put away the umbrella, shaking off the rainwater, and tried to open the pine wooden door in front of the shop. There was the sound of bells. There was a warm light. The moment he entered, Xue Xiao didn't seem to feel the coldness of the street in the rain outside. It was very warm here. Welcome. Is there anything I can help you with, customer? So, customer, you want to see your first love again, right? The owner asked softly. I'm not sure. Xue Xiao shook his head, looking at everything in front of him nervously. He already knew some things about this shop, and after the mysterious boss showed his ability, he had to believe these things. But he still had a lingering fear in his heart. How could he come to such a weird place? The only thing that calmed Xue Xiao down was that this place wasn't scary, nor was it like the devil's place in movies or novels, with fangs, long horns, hellfire and bloody spots. Although the boss was wearing a scary mask, he looked very polite. He had always been respectful and maintained the strictest etiquette to treat this so-called respected guest of his. The boss and the maid beside the boss, Wan Zishan, said she saw a perfect woman. But he thought the woman in front of him was the one who could be called perfect. She was just a bit cold. Not sure? Boss Luo thought for a while. Customer, if you are not sure, the deal will not be made. So, please think about it carefully. Once the deal is made, it can't be changed. Can I know the price first? Xue Xiao asked calmly. I won't sell my health, life, or even my feelings. Even if I want to end things with her, I won't be selfish and affect my fiancé after marriage. Customer, it seems that you still love your fiancé. Boss Luo nodded. If so, why do you still care about the past? Xue Xiao forced a smile. I don't know if you know how difficult and painful it is to forget someone. Especially when you can't do it and know that you have to love the next person wholeheartedly. So, you want a result? Xue Xiao nodded. I want a result, but I won't choose to destroy the wedding and my life after marriage for this result. So, I need to know the price first. Okay. Boss Luo thought for a while and said, according to your request, I'm afraid there is only one thing suitable for you, the necklace you are wearing. Necklace? Xue Xiao gave a start. You have to wear it all the time, just like you always wear me. Boss Luo nodded. Yes, the value of this necklace is enough to fulfill your request. Don't take the important things from me, but take the things that are important to me. Shui Xiao forced a smile and sighed. There is no free lunch in the world. I only want a result. No, I just want to end things with the past. Since I want to end things, then I will be naked. He untied the necklace and put it in front of the mysterious boss. No, take it first. Boss Luo said calmly, sign the contract first. After the goods are delivered to you, we will take your necklace. Chapter 542. It was probably close to midnight. The corridor of the hospital was a little dark, so it was a little quiet because of the drizzle. A young man had just finished smoking in the pantry and was heading upstairs. But he soon stopped and looked up slightly. There was a pair of slender legs wearing thin white socks climbing the stairs. It was the nurse on patrol. She probably didn't know that her private place was being stared at by a pair of eyes. She quickly finished the first floor of the stairs. Tut tut, not bad. The young man smiled contentedly. He walked up the stairs quickly and came to a ward at the end of the corridor. The person who lived here was his teacher, known as Master Huang. After the young man received a call from the hospital, he was almost scared to death. Fortunately, he was fine. However, his teacher had always paid great attention to his health. How could he have fainted all of a sudden and even spat out blood? Teacher, you woke up. He didn't expect that old Huang had already woken up when he came back for a cigarette. At this time, he sat on the bed and looked out of the window, looking a little silent. I was scared to death. The young man walked to the edge of old Huang's bed and sat down. I suddenly fainted. Chen Er. Old Huang said suddenly. You go and cancel all my appointments. I won't see any guests for the next year. Young man. Chen Er was stunned and said subconsciously, Teacher, the guests who made appointments are all big shots. You can't cancel them. Old Huang sighed and looked at his student. He said in a trance, I can't even remember why I fainted. I just vaguely remember that I was supposed to see guests today and do fortune-telling. Should I have predicted it or not? But I can't remember it. Teacher, did you accidentally hit your head or something? I heard that you can't remember some things after a concussion, but it's only temporary. Old Huang shook his head and sighed. In our line of work, those who have some ability are all leaking the secrets of heaven. Sooner or later, they will be punished. We can calculate others, but we can't calculate ourselves. I didn't hit my head because I divined something that I shouldn't have divined. The reason I didn't die is probably because of the ancestors' protection. Teacher, you will live to 100 years old. Don't scare yourself. Chen Er. Old Huang suddenly said, I'm going back to Mount Wudong. You stay here and look after Spirit Paradise for me. If those old customers come looking for me, you can reject them for me, but remember, don't lose them. Wudong Mountain? Chen Er was stunned. He knew that his teacher had once stayed at Wudong Mountain, but Chen Er himself had never been there. From old Huang's occasional words, Chen Er knew that his teacher seemed to have learned his skills from this Taoist holy land. Teacher, why don't I go with you? Chen Er said, let me experience it too. Old Huang shook his head and said, it's not time yet. Just stay here. Chen Er nodded and did not say anything. Good old man, I've been with you for so long, but you're still not willing to teach me anything. He even rejected so many important guests. At lunchtime. Business trip? Wan Zishan looked at Shui Xiao with surprise. So sudden? This was a small restaurant among many commercial buildings. Wan Zishan and Shui Xiao's companies were not far from each other. They would meet for lunch when they were not too busy. Yes. Shui Xiao said helplessly, I arranged it when I went back to the company this morning. A vice president of the company was supposed to attend a product conference, but he was hospitalized because of appendicitis last night. He asked me. I feel strange, I'm not with him. Why did he ask me? Well, Wan Zishan thought for a while, but you're the vice president of the R&D department. It's normal for him to ask you, isn't it? But it's good that you can go, it means that your company values you. Maybe you can become a permanent employee. But how long will you be there? The flight is at 4 p.m. I'll go there today and come back on Friday, about 4 days. So soon? Yes. Xue Xiao sighed. The vice president's itinerary was this morning. Wan Zishan opened her eyes widely. Then why are you leisurely having lunch with me? Go back and pack. Let's wait until after dinner. Xue Xiao smiled. It won't matter even if you are in a hurry. Wan Zishan was worried. According to the weather report, it's going to rain these days. I don't know if the flight will be delayed. Xue Xiao subconsciously looked out of the window. It was a moderate rain, and it seemed to be heavier in the morning. Maybe not. But in fact, the flight was delayed by about an hour. But it was lucky that it was only delayed for an hour. Xue Xiao carried a simple suitcase and got on the plane. He turned off all the communication devices before taking off. He looked at the dark sky outside the small window and subconsciously played with the crescent moon pendant on his body. Suddenly, he remembered something that happened last night. He said he could meet the girl. Was he just fooling with him? After Xue Xiao woke up, he was thinking about what happened last night. He remembered that the mysterious boss showed some magical skills. But now, he realized that it might be some magic show that he didn't know about. It might be a trick to scare people. Anyway, there was nothing else. He even went out of town for a business trip today. It seemed that he was fooled. Xue Xiao smiled. No one would be so gullible when they were in the society. Xue Xiao closed his eyes and fell asleep slowly. In the dream, he couldn't help but dream of his 17 and 18 years old. Sir, we've arrived. Sir? Xue Xiao felt someone patting his shoulder. He woke up and did not say anything. He left the plane under the polite gaze of the stewardess. The company had arranged a place for him to stay and even had a driver. The driver had been waiting outside the airport. Xue Xiao took a deep breath, looking at the airport of this strange city. He was exhausted after a few hours of flight. Now he only wanted to take a shower in the hotel and prepare for the press conference tomorrow morning. I've got off the plane. I'm still at the airport, preparing to go to the hotel. Xue Xiao took a selfie, showing a tired face, and sent it to Wan Zishan. But she was probably asleep at this time. Ah yes, I'm Xue Xiao. I'll be out soon. Sorry to keep you waiting. Xue Xiao contacted the driver outside the airport while looking for the exit. But he stopped talking halfway. His hands were stiff and he couldn't move his eyes away for a long time. A girl, wearing jeans, boots and a gray sweater, wearing earphones and pulling a suitcase, was not far away. She was about 15 meters away, walking on the escalator downstairs. The girl had become a mature woman. She still had long hair, she Sujai. Xue Xiao rushed to the escalator instinctively, shouting the girl's name. But he was so anxious that he even bumped into a passenger's luggage cart and fell to the ground. Sir, are you okay? The passenger kindly helped Xue Xiao up. However, when he looked for the escalator, he lost sight of the woman. I am too tired. Xue Xiao sighed, walking around the airport for a while with a sense of loss. Then he left the airport and got on the driver's car, heading to the hotel. But he didn't talk on the way. Even so, the driver was very enthusiastic. After arriving at the destination, he helped Xue Xiao carry the luggage. Mr. Xue, please sit here for a while. I'll check in for you. I'm familiar with this place. It's not convenient for you to come here by yourself. I'm sorry. Xue Xiao apologized for his silence on the way. Looking at this old chauffeur busily leaving, he was probably also looking for a job. Xue Xiao sat down on the sofa in the lobby, rubbing his eyes. Wan Zishan didn't reply to his message. He looked at the time, it was 1:00 at night. She must have fallen asleep. Xue Xiao looked at his phone and around. It was so late that there were few people coming to the hotel, even the receptionist on duty. Only the security guard at the entrance was still on duty. Suddenly, the security guard pushed the door open. A gust of cold wind blew in and hit Xue Xiao's face. He looked at the door subconsciously. Someone walked in with luggage at the revolving door. The night wind messed up her hair. She gently stroked her hair with a faint smile on her face. It was her. Xue Xiao stood up subconsciously. It was her. The smile on her face and the action of stroking her hair seemed to overlap with what happened many years ago. It had been 11 years. She overlapped with him. Chapter 543. If we meet again, what will I look like, what will you look like, what will I look like, and what will you look like? After graduating from high school that year, Xue Xiao spent the whole summer thinking about this question, even though he knew he wouldn't get the answer. Because the first girl in his life had disappeared from his life without leaving a trace. There was no way to contact her, and he didn't know where she had gone abroad. Later, he gradually stopped thinking about it. Because life was busy, because the days were long, and because there was no feeling of being together in every minute and second. Time would baptize everything. When he was in college, Xue Xiao heard that women would mature faster than men when facing this kind of situation. When they started to cry in sorrow, they would call out to each other from all over the world. When they started to accept the new life, they started to toss and turn and couldn't sleep. Then, what should I look like in the end? When I see you again? Xue Xiao still stood there, his eyes following the woman's movement. He didn't see her gaze on him, but he saw her pulling her luggage to the front desk of the hotel. It seemed that she was going to check in. It seems that she doesn't remember? Suddenly, he was frightened. Xue Xiao took out his phone, turning on the front lens, looking at his own appearance on the screen, asking himself, have I changed a lot? My face seems to be older, and my hairstyle is different. Am I fatter than before? It turns out that I have changed a lot. If she doesn't remember. He subconsciously turned a blind eye to it and found a reason that could make him feel better from himself. The driver who went to check in came back, giving Xue Xiao the room card, and then left in a hurry. He said it was too late and he had to go home. His wife was waiting for him. Xue Xiao didn't see the driver leave, but looked at the back of the person at the front desk, hesitating whether he should approach her. This action reminded Xue Xiao of the past. His class monitor said that when he had a crush on this girl, he couldn't look at her face to face, and couldn't talk to her naturally. Even if he wanted to talk to her, he had to think about it for a long time, but he always talked about some irrelevant things. Xue Xiao knew that he was probably shy at that time, but he didn't expect that he was still like this 11 years later. Clearly, the summer of that winter had already officially begun. Clearly, they had walked through the last semester of the third year of high school together. In the end, he still didn't have the courage to walk up to her. It wasn't until he saw her leave the reception desk and head towards the elevator that he subconsciously followed her footstep. They walked into the elevator and stood on both sides. Xue Xiao felt his heartbeat and felt that this short period of time was extremely long. When she arrived, she left the elevator and walked to her own room. Xue Xiao followed her subconsciously as if he was possessed. When she finally stopped in front of the door, she finally turned around and said softly, "I thought you would call me first, but you're still like a little boy." Xue Xiao was stunned. Looking at the girl's smile, he suddenly realized that she had recognized him from the beginning. Long time no see. Long time no see. They didn't stay for long, and they didn't even converse with each other. There wasn't even any sentimental words. When Xue Xiao and the girl met again after 11 years, the only thing they said was long time no see. She smiled and pointed at her room number, then pushed the door open and entered. Xue Xiao glanced at it and secretly remembered the room number. Then he returned to his own room and slept soundly. Xue Xiao had a good sleep. When he woke up in the morning, he was still a little confused. He went downstairs to the hotel's breakfast restaurant to eat. He silently watched the entrance, but found nothing. Then he hurried to the conference venue. It was on one of the floors of the hotel. Next, we'll introduce the first product of our company. First of all, let me introduce the difference between this product and the previous ones. He slept for a night and forgot about the preparation work before the conference. But his ability was enough to handle the conference, and he seemed to be unexpectedly praised. The people in the branch praised his explanation this time. Xue Xiao just said a few words modestly because he had prepared enough information. It was the people who worked hard to prepare the information. There was still a lot of work after the conference. Xue Xiao had to deal with the people in the branch and some customers who were interested in the product. If there were no accidents, he would need to have more in-depth contact with customers in the next 2 or 3 days. Of course, there would be some reception activities for business trip. Xue Xiao didn't have time to talk with Wan Zishan until 8 o'clock in the evening. He listened to her saying that it was still raining and that she had gone to the hotel to confirm the menu of the banquet. Xue Xiao never felt annoyed when he heard her talk about trivial things. But this time, he suddenly wanted to end the call earlier. He felt irritated, not because of the phone call, but because of himself. Xue Xiao planned to go to the hotel's swimming pool to calm down. Xue Xiao didn't expect that the second time he met Su Jie after 11 years would be in the hotel's indoor swimming pool. She seemed to have been here for a while. She was swimming in the water like a mermaid. She was not young anymore. She was mature enough to be attractive. Xue Xiao followed the swimming figure of the mermaid along the edge of the pool until they met at the end. The woman came out of the water and made a splash again. She wiped her hair with both hands to get rid of the water. She opened her eyes and looked at Xue Xiao, saying suddenly, "Idiot, come down, the water is not cold." Once again, the woman took the initiative to talk to him. She was always so active, as usual. Xue Xiao looked at the rippling water, as if he went back to the winter vacation 11 years ago. One day, the girl suddenly leaned against a tree by the road, staring at a shop in front of her, a cake shop. She looked at him and suddenly said, "Xue Xiao, do you want to treat me to a cake?" Right under the wishing tree, he had treated her to a cake. It seemed to happen inadvertently at the beginning. Puff! The sound of water splashing and the feeling of being choked. When Xue Xiao came back to his senses, he was pulled into the pool. He paddled and came out of the water. He almost choked to death. At this time, the woman laughed in front of him. "You still like to play pranks. I don't know why, but every time I see you, I want to play pranks on you. Did you leave suddenly and leave nothing behind because of the same reason?" Xue Xiao suddenly asked. He finally plucked up his courage. The woman didn't say anything. She just relaxed her body and let her body float on the surface of the water. Just like that, she allowed the ripples to send her body away. "Su Jie, tell me." He followed her and asked loudly. She tilted her head slightly, looking at Xue Xiao, who looked serious, suddenly asking, "Are you free tomorrow?" "From morning to evening." Xue Xiao gave a start, then nodded silently. Tomorrow. Xue Xiao thought about tomorrow's question and went back to his room. He didn't talk with her again, because his words seemed to be blocked by her smile. He thought he was crazy, even on the way back. He cancelled the social engagement tomorrow, saying that he didn't feel well and wanted to have a rest. Xue Xiao pushed open the door. His heart suddenly jumped. A stranger came here. Maybe not a stranger, because he had seen him before, the boss of the shop. The boss opened the curtains, looking at the distance. It seemed that he had been waiting for him for a while. Xue Xiao swallowed his saliva subconsciously, putting his palms on the wall, walking 2 steps forward cautiously. How did you come in?" "Sir, we've delivered the things you asked for." The boss turned around. "Are you satisfied?" Xue Xiao was bewildered. He was a little surprised and said, "Did you arrange all of this? Even when I was on a business trip?" Boss Luo nodded at this time. "The customer's request is that she doesn't want to affect her wedding. So if we meet at the original place, I think there will always be some clues. But if it was here, it wouldn't. Because people here don't know you, right?" How did you do it?" Xue Xiao couldn't help asking. "There are always some ways," Luoqiu said indifferently. Xue Xiao frowned. You Did you come here to take away my necklace? Luochu shook his head. No hurry, the guest will come back in a few days. I can give you the necklace by then. I just came here to see if the guest is satisfied with the product. Now it seems that the guest is satisfied. Then, Boss Luo slightly bowed. Please enjoy this trip. The boss disappeared from the room. Chapter 544. What are you thinking about? Xue Xiao felt a pair of cold hands covering his eyes. Although it was cold, the soft touch quickly pulled him back to reality from his wild thoughts. He didn't sleep well last night, not because he was thinking about Su Jiai, but because of the mysterious shop owner. He was so scared that he couldn't sleep in the first half of the night, and the second half of the night. Nothing, just thinking. Xue Xiao shook his head, looking at Su Jiai up and down. She didn't dress up, only wearing a casual outfit, and didn't even put on light makeup. Xue Xiao was surprised to find that Su Jiai's skin was still as good as that of a young girl even though she was 27 years old. Her face was a little deeper, and her hair was longer, so she was a little taller. The rest didn't seem to have changed, just like the little action of covering his eyes. Then let's go. Su Jiai held Xue Xiao's hand without saying anything. Her natural action made Xue Xiao absent-minded, because he didn't feel awkward. Yes, he didn't. It seemed that Su Jiai had arranged the route for today. They each bought a shared bike outside the hotel. Su Jiai rode the bike and rushed forward, letting Xue Xiao chase after her. Xue Xiao never knew that this woman could have such good physical strength. He thought that it was probably because of the geological exploration that her physical strength would eventually improve. But he couldn't catch up with her. Xue Xiao gasped, glancing at his belly which couldn't be covered even if he wore the loosest clothes. He was thinking that perhaps he should lose some weight. But Xue Xiao had to admit that the route Su Jiai arranged was good. This city was a coastal city, so they rode from the hotel along the mountainous greenway, taking in almost half of the city's scenery. Finally, Su Jiai stopped at the hillside. She held the handrail and looked down. Xue Xiao was still pedaling hard to climb the slope. She was up there, not far away. The wind lifted her hair. Xue Xiao almost exhausted his strength every time, feeling that the 10-meter uphill road was very long. She seemed to have become unreachable, but he still chased up with all his might. It was only when he finally arrived at the stop that he felt a sense of success. But Su Jiai had got on the bike again. Under Xue Xiao's horrified gaze, she slid down the mountain. Her expression seemed to be saying, was as if he had no intention of letting him catch up to him. Last night she had said that she couldn't help but want to play with him whenever she saw him. Xue Xiao rubbed his forehead and thought it was lucky that it was only the way down the mountain. Don't run. Wait until I catch up to you. I won't let you go. Xue Xiao shouted from behind. She laughed cheerfully in front of him. Her laughter was like a song drifting halfway up the mountain. Xue Xiao remembered one time when he borrowed a new car from his classmate and drove her to the suburbs. She sat behind the car and smiled like this too. The journey down the mountain was surprisingly short. It felt like it was less than a quarter of the journey. As for time, it was the same. Soon, very soon. Their next stop was the famous food street of this seaside city, just below the hillside. There is no sugar painting here, Su Jiai said with disappointment, even though she was carrying a bunch of things. It can't be helped. That kind of things are getting less and less. Not to mention this place, the old man who set up the stall on the way to school is also gone. Xue Xiao shook his head. Ah, I see. Su Jiai sighed with disappointment, but she recovered soon. I'm not happy. Xue Xiao, you have to treat me to the cotton candy over there, then I'll be happy. You can still eat? Xue Xiao opened his mouth in surprise and then smiled. Well, you always eat a lot. Your stomach is like a bottomless hole. But I don't get fat. Su Jiai stuck her tongue out at Xue Xiao and ran quickly to the cotton candy stall. Really, had it been 11 years? But do you still want to eat lunch later? Xue Xiao followed her subconsciously. Yes, he had been following her back. But in fact, Xue Xiao didn't eat as much as Su Jiai. Xue Xiao found that he seemed to be abandoned by the goddess of luck. Last night, he used the excuse of not feeling well to cancel today's social engagement. Unexpectedly, he walked into the hospital of this strange city. The reason was, he ate something wrong. It must be because the food in the snack stall was not clean. He had eaten there today. When he saw Su Jiai gulping down the food, he couldn't hold back his appetite. Sorry, I didn't expect to have infusion here. I wasted half a day of your time. Xue Xiao's face was a little pale. He sat in the infusion room and looked at Su Jiai, who accompanied him, saying apologetically, I was supposed to accompany you today. So now you are accompanying me? Su Jiai looked at the clock on the wall and said. When Xue Xiao was about to speak, his phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and was stunned. At the same time, he found that Su Jiai was also looking at him. Girlfriend? Su Jiai suddenly asked. Xue Xiao nodded. He didn't intend to deceive her. So she just smiled and said she would leave for a while. When she left, he saw that her shoulders seemed to be lower. It was Wan Zishan's call. She talked about some trivial things. She said that the wedding photos were ready and he could see them when he came back. She also wrote a lot of invitations and gave some to his old class monitor to send to his former classmates. Xue Xiao agreed and was very patient. He hoped that Wan Zishan didn't end the call so soon. He also looked at the clock on the wall silently, counting how many times the minute and second hands had passed. Because he didn't know how to face the woman who said to leave. No, he didn't know how to face her from the moment they met in the hotel. It was just an acute gastroenteritis. He didn't need to stay in the hospital after the injection and the doctor prescribed some medicine. But Su Jiai didn't take the initiative to talk to him since they left the hospital and on the way back to the hotel. They looked at the scenery outside the window. The driver probably thought that they were a couple who were quarreling. They got off the car in front of the hotel. Xue Xiao plucked up his courage and said, I'm going to get married soon. Su Jiai wasn't too surprised. Her calmness didn't surprise Xue Xiao. He knew how much time had passed since he answered the call and returned to the hotel. Do you have time tomorrow? This was Su Jiai's response. So he got the same response as yesterday. But his mood was different and his stomach was upset. He didn't know whether he would meet the mysterious boss in his room tonight. Another night. Xue Xiao couldn't fall asleep in the first half of the night. But he was too sleepy in the second half of the night and finally fell asleep. He didn't know whether the mysterious boss had come here secretly or not. But after a night's rest, his stomach didn't feel so uncomfortable anymore. Xue Xiao met Su Jiai in the breakfast restaurant of the hotel. They had made an appointment last night. He saw Su Jiai sitting there and eating. It seemed that she had been here for some time. Seeing Xue Xiao, Su Jiai smiled and waved her hand. Xue Xiao walked towards her, but he started to be absent-minded. He suddenly compared Wan Zishan with Su Jiai. For example, Wan Zishan would always order good food for him and wait for him to eat together, even if she was hungry. But Xue Xiao thought that there was no need to compare two different characters. Xue Xiao poured 2 cups of coffee and then came to the table. He put 2 packets of sugar and a small cup of milk in 1 cup of coffee and kept the other one for himself. He pushed the brewed coffee to Su Jiai in a natural and skillful manner. But he froze after delivering it to Su Jiai. 2 packets of sugar and a cup of milk. This was Wan Zishan's taste. Another packet of sugar? I like it sweet. Su Jiai smiled. As a gentleman, you should do it to the end. Xue Xiao added another packet of sugar awkwardly. Su Jiai didn't ask anything about Xue Xiao's marriage. Yes, she didn't mention it at all, as if she didn't know anything about it. Instead, she kept talking about today's arrangement. Xue Xiao suddenly found that he didn't have the right to ask her anything, what she had done these years, whether she had a boyfriend or even whether she was married. It seemed that even though they had talked about the agreement, they had made a tacit agreement. They agreed not to talk about their own affairs. Xue Xiao didn't want to ask about her privacy, but he couldn't help asking about some topics that could break the ice. In the sightseeing car, Xue Xiao couldn't help asking her why she came to this city. Su Jiai told him that she was forced to get married, so she ran away. She didn't plan to go anywhere, just bought a plane ticket and came here. She didn't expect to meet him here. Finally, she looked at Xue Xiao seriously, asking him whether he believed it or not. Xue Xiao shook his head directly. If he believed it, there would be a ghost. Su Jiai laughed. Actually, I received the company's arrangement, so I flew here. But I didn't expect to meet you here, it's true. Xue Xiao thought that it was probably the arrangement of the boss. Not knowing why, Su Jiai was a woman who liked to eat. If she kept eating like this all these years and didn't get fat, it would be unreasonable. It was as if she couldn't wait to finish everything that could be eaten. It's a pity that you can't eat. Shaking the delicious food in front of Xue Xiao, Su Jiai provoked him on purpose, teasing him as usual. Xue Xiao didn't pay attention to him and just stared ahead. Su Jiai suddenly held his hand. She took the snacks and held his hand as they walked on the quiet path. But it suddenly rained. Oh, why is it raining? The weather forecast didn't mention it. Hiding in front of a shop, Su Jiai looked up at the weather. Xue Xiao also looked at it. Maybe they just had sex. After all, it's the seaside, so it's normal. Well, I think it's good here. There's a shopping mall on the opposite side. Let's go. Oh, we can go there through the tunnel. We can walk around the shopping mall. Su Jiai looked at him, blinking her eyes. Xue Xiao felt that she didn't grow up, at least her blinking action didn't change. Why are you looking at me? You've changed. Su Jiai looked at Xue Xiao seriously. You've really changed. When you were little, you weren't so calm. You must be very annoyed and scolded God. I've grown up. Xue Xiao smiled. Now I still scold God and the rain will still fall, but I still have to live. I can't be like before because time can't go back. Time can't go back. Then what am I chasing? But Su Jiai suddenly held Xue Xiao's hand, rushing into the rain, towards the shopping mall on the opposite side. Xue Xiao was curious about her action, but he didn't have time to ask. They rushed into the lobby on the first floor of the shopping mall, almost soaking wet. Su Jiai looked at Xue Xiao and said, "Wait for me here." Xue Xiao didn't know what Su Jiai was going to do. Maybe she wanted to tease him again. Waiting was always a long time, especially for a woman. Standing in the lobby of the shopping mall with wet clothes, like an idiot, Xue Xiao had never thought that he would be in such a mess. He didn't care about the gazes of the people around, but the point was, it was a bit cold. Achoo! He had to sneeze. It was his body's protest. And probably because he had gastroenteritis yesterday and was drenched in the rain today. Xue Xiao. Su Jiai's voice was very loud, as if she was shouting from afar. Behind him, there was a distant shout. He looked back and saw Su Jiai walking towards him slowly. She didn't wear wet clothes, but a new one, a set of student clothes that he didn't expect. But it wasn't the same as before. Su Jiai was a bit out of breath. Xue Xiao was surprised that she could find this kind of clothes in the shopping mall. But she walked towards him, just like when she was 17 years old. In front of the school gate, there was a girl wearing a school uniform, smiling and stroking her hair. Su Jiai finally came to Xue Xiao, with a trace of shyness in her eyes. She suddenly leaned on his shoulder, lowering her head and whispering, "Time, has it come back?" Time didn't come back, but stopped here. "Wait for me," Xue Xiao suddenly said in a low voice. After that, he ran up the stairs of the shopping mall. He no longer thought about any moral or rational things, but he had an unprecedented impulse. It turned out that this impulse could tear apart all the thoughts, and this kind of impulse, about half an hour later. He came back to Su Jiai, wearing a set of nondescript, but at least it looked like a student's clothes, and it looked very funny on him. Xue Xiao pressed his hands on his knees, gasping heavily. Where did you find it? I only found it like this, but, he stood up, just put up with it. Su Jiai suddenly kissed him. It was a long kiss,